Lin Wan, you've got to talk some sense into Kur. She's saying she wants to change her college application choices. My aunt's anxious voice echoed through the living room. I sat on the sofa, holding that familiar college preference confirmation form in my hands. June 25, 2006, the third day after Gaokao scores were released. I had traveled 18 years back in time, to the summer that would alter all our destinies. Sukur, wearing a low-cut tank top with bleached blonde hair, was touching up her makeup in front of the mirror. Her college application form lay spread out on the coffee table, clearly stating, First Choice, Computer Science Department, University of Science and Technology Beijing. This was Xin Yuan's dream school. I was Reborn, my childhood sweetheart, the boy who'd protected me since we were kids. This was his dream university and major. On this same day in my past life, I had desperately tried to stop Sukur, only to be slapped to the ground by my uncle, who accused me of being jealous of my cousin. In the end, Sukur successfully tampered with Xin Yuan's college application choices behind his back. While Xin Yuan missed the final deadline for making changes due to an unforeseen incident at the internet cafe, he ended up at a vocational college, while Sukur went to Beijing. From then on, they were worlds apart, their paths never crossing again. Cousin, do you think I filled this out correctly? Sukur blinked, putting on an innocent and naive act. She knew I was aware this was Xin Yuan's dream school. She also knew I had feelings for Xin Yuan, yet she deliberately snatched his future right before my eyes. Bold as brass, in my past life, I begged her through tears, saying Xin Yuan had worked 3 years for this aspiration, pleading with her not to do this, but it was no use. My aunt and uncle said that since Kur usually had poor grades and was finally making an effort to improve, I shouldn't be selfish as her older cousin. Xin Yuan's mother said that since he had good grades and could get into any school he applied to anyway, he should give the opportunity to Kur. Everyone was on Sukur's side. Everyone thinks I'm stingy. Cousin, why aren't you saying anything? Sukur nudged my leg with her foot. You're not actually against it, are you? I looked at her smug face and suddenly laughed. Why would I be against it? Sukur was taken aback, clearly not expecting that kind of reaction from me. My aunt was also surprised. Wan, you're really okay with this? Of course. I slid the application form back to Sukur. This is Kur's decision. Who am I to object? Sukur eyed me suspiciously, sensing that something was off, but she couldn't figure out what was wrong. After all, in my past life, I was truly naive and innocent, always putting others first and never knowing how to protect myself. It's settled then. Aunt declared decisively. Kur, hurry to the internet cafe to find Xin Yuan and have him teach you how to submit your college preferences online. Sukur excitedly grabbed the preference form and was about to dash out. Wait, I called out to her. Remember to submit it before 5 p.m. today. You won't be able to make changes after the deadline. Got it, cousin, you're the best. Sukur gave me a kiss. Once I get into college, I'll buy you tons of gifts. The door slammed shut. Only my aunt and I remained in the room. Wan, my aunt said as she sat beside me, patting my hand, you've really matured this time. Kur has been spoiled by her parents since she was little, so please be more accommodating with her. Her grades aren't good, but if she can get into a decent university this time, she'll have a bright future ahead. Your grades are excellent. It doesn't matter which university you go to. I nodded without arguing. I used to think the same way in my past life. I figured since my grades were good, it wouldn't hurt to let my cousin have her way. I thought someone as bright as Xin Yuan would thrive wherever they went. I believed sacrificing a bit of my own interests was worth it if it made everyone happy. But what was the outcome? Sukur dropped out after just 1 year in Beijing, claiming university was too boring, and decided to become an internet celebrity. She did become famous, making a considerable amount of money by hurling insults in her live streams and creating hype. Meanwhile, Xin Yuan muddled through 3 years at a technical college, then landed a job as a programmer at a small company, earning a meager salary with no further chance to pursue his dreams. The most crucial part is that Sukur never took this matter seriously. She even said to Xin Yuan's face after drinking one time, "You're no genius anyway. What difference does it make which school you go to? You might as well just give the opportunity to me." I'll never forget the look on Xin Yuan's face at that moment, disappointment, anger, and profound despair. When he looked at me, his eyes were filled with accusation. Why didn't you stop her? I wanted to explain, to say I was deceived too, to say I also deeply regret it, but it was too late. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never be undone. Wan, what's on your mind? My aunt's voice snapped me back to reality. I shook my head, nothing much. I'm going to my room to rest for a bit. Back in my room, I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. It took me 18 years to finally understand one truth. There's nothing wrong with kindness, but foolish kindness makes you an accomplice. I won't stop Sukur, nor will I warn Xinyuan. I want them to face the consequences themselves. Let Sukur learn that what's taken by force isn't necessarily worth having. Make Xinyuan realize that some people are simply not worth trusting. Let everyone see clearly who the real victim is. The phone rang. It was a text message from Xinyuan. Wanwan, I'm at the internet cafe. Do you want to come over? I can help you fill out your college application. I stared at this text message for a long time. In my previous life, at this very moment, I was rushing to the internet cafe, desperate to stop Sukur's plan, but by the time I got there, it was already too late. In this life, I won't be going again. I'll let fate take its natural course. I replied, no need, I'm resting at home, take care of yourself. After sending that text, I turned off my phone. The next few hours would be when the magic happens. No, to be precise, it was the moment to witness instant karma. I closed my eyes, waiting for that familiar ringtone to pierce the silence, bracing for Xinyuan's furious interrogation, anticipating Sukur's panicked explanations. I'm waiting for the moment when everyone finally sees the truth. This time, I won't be the nice guy who cleans up everyone else's mess. This time, I'm just going to stand back and watch it all unfold. After 18 years of pent-up frustration and anger, it all ends today. At 3 in the afternoon, I was reading in my room when my uncle's furious roar came from the living room. Sukur, you little brat, get back here right now. I set down my book and listened carefully. Dad, what's all the yelling about? Sukur's voice sounded thoroughly annoyed. Were you causing trouble at the internet cafe again? Xinyuan's mom just called and said you smashed his computer that afternoon in her past life. Sukur deliberately caused a scene at the internet cafe to stop Xinyuan from modifying his college application choices, seizing the chance to break his computer. In his rush to get the computer fixed, Xinyuan missed the 5 p.m. deadline. By the time he realized what had happened, it was too late to make any changes to his applications. I didn't smash his computer. It was an accident. Sukur protested defensively. An accident? Xinyuan said you deliberately poured water on the CPU and kicked the monitor. I only did that because... Sukur's voice began to falter. Because what? Her uncle's voice grew colder. Tell me the truth. Did you do it on purpose? The living room fell silent for a few seconds. Then came the sound of Sukur's tearful voice. Dad, I really didn't mean to. How could you not mean to? Aunt's voice cut in sharply. Kur, what's gotten into you? You're always so well behaved. How could you do something like this? I tiptoed to the doorway and peered through the crack to see what was happening in the living room. Sukur sat on the sofa, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at her aunt and uncle, looking as if she had suffered a terrible injustice. I'm just afraid that Xinyuan and I will be competing for the same university. Competing for the same university? Her uncle frowned. Didn't you say you were applying to Beijing University of Science and Technology? Is Xinyuan applying there too? Sukur lowered her head, not daring to answer. Aunt suddenly remembered something. Kur, how did you come up with that college major choice? You've never shown any interest in computers before. I just think computer science is pretty good. That's nonsense. Uncle slammed the table. Did you copy Xinyuan's application? Sukur flinched in fear, tears streaming down her face even more intensely. Dad, I didn't. Don't you dare deny it. Uncle's face flushed with anger. No wonder you insisted on going to the internet cafe to find Xinyuan today. You went there to sabotage him, you foolish girl. Do you have any idea what you've done? That boy Xinyuan set his heart on this goal since childhood. How many years has he spent preparing for this school? And you just destroyed his future like that. Sukur cried even louder. Dad, I want to go to a good university too. My grades are poor. This is the only way. What do you mean, the only way? Aunt snapped angrily. Whose fault are your bad grades? What were you doing when we told you to focus on your studies? Spending all day hanging out with those troublemakers. And now you're suddenly worried. Listening from my room, I felt conflicted. I had witnessed this very scene in my past life. But back then, Sukur kept insisting that I had consented to it, that I was the one who told her to do it. My aunt and uncle ended up taking their anger out on me, accusing me of not stopping Sukur's wrongdoing as her older cousin, but instead encouraging it. 18 years have passed. In the end, I was the one who had to kneel on the ground and beg Shin Yuan's mother to forgive Sukur, claiming it was all my idea. The absurd part is, I genuinely believed at the time that I was the one who ruined Shin Yuan's life. I kept thinking that if I had put my foot down, Sukur would never have gone through with it. I felt entirely responsible for how things turned out, so I spent 18 years drowning in self-blame, 18 years trying to make amends. This time around, I won't make the same mistake again, but now I realize it was never my fault to begin with. Sukur chose this path herself. She made the conscious decision to destroy others' futures for her own gain. I was just a pawn in her game. Mom, Dad, please stop scolding me. Sukur sobbed, I know I was wrong. I'll go apologize to brother Shin Yuan right now. What good is an apology? Her uncle sneered, you broke his computer, and now he can't even change his college application choices. Do you think a simple sorry will fix anything? Then I'll pay for his computer. Pay for it? With what? Her aunt trembled with anger. Do you have any idea how much that computer costs? Besides, a computer can keep him company. But who's going to safeguard Shin Yuan's future? Sukur was left speechless and could only sob uncontrollably. I watched coldly from my room, feeling not an ounce of sympathy. In her past life, Sukur was the same. Every time she caused trouble, she'd play the victim to gain sympathy. The adults took pity on her youth and ignorance, so they forgave all her mistakes. But she's already 18 years old, a full-grown adult. Adults must take responsibility for their own actions. This time, I won't be speaking up for her. I'm done being the sucker who cleans up her messes. The doorbell rang. Shin Yuan and his mother had arrived. Through the window, I could see Shin Yuan looked grim, and his mother wore an equally stern expression. The moment Uncle went to answer the door, the atmosphere in the living room grew even more tense. Shin Yuan, Auntie, you're here. Uncle's voice sounded awkward. Kur has admitted that she deliberately smashed your computer. We'll make sure she apologizes to you. And we'll cover the cost of the damaged computer. Shin Yuan's mother remained silent, her gaze fixed on Sukur sobbing on the couch. Shin Yuan's voice was icy as he spoke. Save the apologies. I just want to know one thing. What is it? His uncle asked cautiously. Why would she do this? Shin Yuan stared directly at Sukur. We've never had any beef. Why would she sabotage my college applications? Sukur didn't dare to look up at him, murmuring under her breath, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't answer my question. Shin Yuan's voice grew even colder. I need a reason. Her uncle hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Shin Yuan, here's the thing. Kur wants to apply to Beijing University of Science and Technology, but she was worried about competing with you, so she deliberately smashed my computer to keep me from modifying my application. Shin Yuan cut him off. Is this her brilliant solution? The living room fell into a deathly silence. Everyone could hear the fury in Shin Yuan's voice. Shin Yuan, his aunt started to say something. Auntie, there's no need to say more. Shin Yuan's mother finally spoke up. I've seen enough to understand. Kur has been spoiled since childhood, never thinking about the consequences of her actions. Our Shin Yuan spent 3 years preparing for this college application, and now it's all ruined by her reckless behavior. Do you really think a simple apology is enough to make up for this outcome? Uncle's face flushed bright red. We truly had no idea Kur would do something like this. We'll make sure to teach her a proper lesson. Teach her, Shin Yuan sneered. She's already 18, what more is there to teach? With that, he turned to leave. Shin Yuan, wait. Sukur suddenly stood up and rushed in front of him. I can give up my college application spot for you. Shin Yuan halted and turned to look at her. Your college application choices, he said with a sneer, weren't they just copied from mine? I can fill them out again. Sukur said urgently, don't bother. Shin Yuan shook his head. I don't want anything that's been tainted by someone like you. With that, he walked away without a backward glance. His mother gave Sukur a long, meaningful look before following him out. Only our family remained in the room. My uncle and aunt both looked deeply displeased. Sukur slumped on the sofa, as if she hadn't fully processed what had just happened. Meanwhile, I listened quietly from my room, feeling surprisingly calm. This was the truth about our past lives. This was the so-called accident. Everything was a carefully orchestrated scheme by Sukur. My heart stirred with emotion, yet I spent 18 years paying for her crimes. It's happening. During dinner, the atmosphere at the table was unbearably tense. Sukur kept her head down, shoveling rice into her mouth without uttering a single word. Uncle and aunt had little appetite either, glancing alternately at Sukur and me. Wan, and finally spoke up. Did you hear about what happened this afternoon? I nodded. I caught some of it. So, do you think Kaur did the right thing? I set down my chopsticks and looked at Kaur. What do you think, Kaur? Kaur lifted her head, her eyes still slightly red and swollen. Cousin, I know I was wrong. It's good that you realize that, I said calmly. So what do you plan to do? I want to go apologize to Brother Xinyuan, and then, Kaur bit her lip, I'll let him have my first choice offer. I shook my head. Do you really think he'd accept it? Kaur froze for a moment. Xinyuan made it perfectly clear this afternoon, I continued. He doesn't want anything that comes from you. What should we do now? Tears welled up in Kaur's eyes again. Her uncle let out a heavy sigh. We've spoiled you too much. And that's how you developed such a selfish character. Now look what's happened. You've not only harmed Xinyuan, but you've ruined yourself as well. Dad, I didn't mean to. Kaur said in a hurt voice. Not on purpose, my aunt sneered. Smashing the computer wasn't on purpose. Copying someone else's college application wasn't on purpose. Kaur, you're already 18, stop using your youth as an excuse. Kaur was left speechless by the remarks and could only continue crying. As I watched her, I felt completely unmoved. In my past life, I was desperately trying to find a way to help her solve the problem at this very moment. I contacted Xinyuan's classmates, hoping to borrow their accounts to help him resubmit his college application choices. I rushed to the school to beg the teachers for some flexibility and an extension of the deadline. I was even prepared to swap my own application choices with Xinyuan's, letting him apply to the university I wanted to attend, but none of it made any difference. Rules are rules, a deadline is a deadline. In the end, I was left holding the bag, bearing the brunt of everyone's blame. And what about Kaur? After getting scolded by her family, she cried all night, but by the next day she was back to her usual self, as if nothing had ever happened. Wan, my uncle suddenly turned to me. You and Xinyuan grew up together and have always been close. Could you try talking some sense into him? I knew they'd pin their hopes on me. In my past life, I was constantly guilt-tripped like this. They said I was the only one who could save Xinyuan. They claimed only I could turn this situation around. They insisted that as her cousin, it was my duty to help Kaur clean up her mess. Why should I have to pay for Kaur mistakes? Why should I sacrifice my own dignity to beg others to forgive her? Uncle, I said calmly, I think this matter should be left for Kaur to resolve herself. Uncle was taken aback. You mean, what I'm saying is, she made a mistake and should face the consequences herself. I won't beg Xinyuan to forgive her. Nor will I help her find ways to fix this. This is a necessary lesson she has to learn while growing up. Kaur stared at me in disbelief. Cousin, you're not going to help me. Why should I help you? I retorted. Because we're cousins. Kaur's voice trailed off. Cousins should help each other. But that doesn't mean the older cousin has to take responsibility for the younger one's mistakes. Besides, have you ever considered Xinyuan's feelings? He's worked toward this dream for years, and you destroyed it all with one selfish act. Don't you think you should pay for what you've done? Kaur flushed crimson, unable to utter a single word in retort. My uncle and aunt exchanged stunned looks, clearly not expecting me to take this stance. What's wrong with you today, Wan? Auntie asked cautiously. You're usually the one who dotes on Kaur the most. Caring for her doesn't mean I should indulge her, I said, standing up. If you truly love someone, you need to teach them to take responsibility for their actions, not have someone clean up their mess every time they cause trouble. With that, I returned to my room. Lying in bed, I listened to the hushed murmurs drifting from the living room. They were probably discussing my unusual behavior today. They must be wondering if I'm upset about something, but they'd never guess that I've been reborn from a past life. I've already paid the price for Kaur's willfulness for 18 years. In this lifetime, it's her turn to face the consequences. My phone rang. It was a text message from Xinyuan. Wan, thank you for not speaking up for Kaur today. Reading this text message, I'm filled with mixed emotions. In our past life, Xinyuan held a grudge against me for the longest time. He believed that as Kaur's cousin, I should have put a stop to her actions. He thought I knew exactly what Kaur was planning, yet chose to stand by and do nothing. He thought Kaur and I were in cahoots, both deceiving and using him. It wasn't until years later, when the truth came out, that he realized I had been a victim too, but by then, it was all too late. Our friendship had long since been eroded by misunderstandings and resentment. Now he's actually thanking me. This never happened in our previous life, I replied. No need to thank me. I'm just doing the right thing. Soon he responded again. I'd like to talk with you tomorrow. if that's alright. After a moment's thought, I replied, sure. Putting down my phone, I closed my eyes. Tomorrow marks a fresh start. This time, I won't let anyone take advantage of my kindness anymore. This time, I'm going to protect myself, and also protect those who truly deserve protection. As for Sukur, let her face the consequences she deserves. The next morning, right after breakfast, I heard a heated argument coming from the living room. What did you say? My aunt's voice was shrill and piercing. I stepped out of the room and saw Sukur holding her phone, her face as pale as a sheet. What's wrong? I asked. Her uncle took the phone from Sukur, glanced at it, and his face instantly turned ashen. Kur, you'd better tell me the truth. What exactly is going on here? I leaned in to glance at the phone screen and froze in disbelief. It was the college application system page, displaying a glaring red error message. Application submission failed. The selected program's required score exceeds your exam results. Please make another selection. Sukur scored 486 on the college entrance exam, while the computer science program at Beijing University of Science and Technology required a minimum of 565 points, a full 79 points difference, in her past life. Sukur never even considered this issue. She thought that as long as she snatched Xin Yuan's application choice, she could attend the university he wanted to go to. What she didn't know was that Xin Yuan's score was 623, while her own score didn't even meet the institution's admission threshold. I didn't know it would be like this, Sukur stammered. You don't know. Her uncle was trembling with rage. You don't know your own exam scores. You don't know this school's admission requirements, so you just filled out your college applications this recklessly. Sukur began crying pitifully. I thought if I just copied Xin Yuan's application choices, I could get into the same schools he wanted. You thought. Her aunt was equally furious. What on earth were you thinking? Xin Yuan's grades are so stellar. Of course he'd get into a top school, with grades as poor as yours. What makes you think you can go too? I stood by, watching this farce unfold with cold detachment. I'd lived through this exact scene in my past life. Back then, I actually felt sorry for Sukur's ignorance and was trying to help her make up for it. Looking back now, ignorant, far from it, she was just too full of herself. She thought she could claim others' success as her own simply by destroying their opportunities. She thought snagging a good college application form would change her destiny. But life isn't a fairy tale. What's grabbed in haste may not be the right fit. What do we do now? Her aunt asked anxiously. Can we still change the applications? Her uncle checked the time. Today's the deadline. It closes at 5 p.m. There's still time to resubmit. Hurry up and change it, urged the aunt. Change it to what? Retorted the uncle. With Kur's score, there aren't many schools to choose from in the first place. Besides, she never seriously thought about her college applications before. Now she's cramming at the last minute. What good schools could she possibly get into? Sukur cried even harder. Mom, Dad, what should I do? My uncle and aunt exchanged glances, at a loss for words. Just then, the doorbell rang. I went to answer the door. It was Xin Yuan. His complexion looked better than yesterday, but his eyes remained distant. Xin Yuan, you're here. I invited him inside. He saw Sukur crying in the living room and frowned. What's going on? My uncle explained awkwardly. Kur made a mistake filling out her college application choices. Her scores aren't high enough, and now we're trying to figure out how to fix it. After hearing this, Xin Yuan couldn't help but laugh. The laughter was laced with sarcasm and mockery. So that's how it is. You know what? He looked at Sukur. Yesterday at the internet cafe, I overheard you talking with your friend. You said you were going to steal my college application spot so I couldn't get into a good university. You even said that since your family has money, it doesn't matter if your scores are a bit lower, you could get in through other channels anyway. So how's it going now? Real life isn't as simple as you imagined, is it? Sukur's face flushed instantly. I didn't what? Xin Yuan sneered. Didn't say those things, or didn't think that way. The living room fell into an eerie silence. Her uncle and aunt stared at Sukur in disbelief, clearly shocked that she would say such a thing. As for me, I had known the truth all along. In her past life, Sukur had indeed bragged to her friends after confirming her plan was successful. She claimed she had successfully dealt with Xin Yuan, making it impossible for him to compete with her. She even claimed her family had connections, and that even with mediocre grades, they could pull some strings to get her into a good school. She overestimated her family's influence and underestimated the rigor of the college entrance exam system. In the end, Not only did she fail to get into a good school, she almost didn't even make it into a regular university. Xingyuan, what do you mean by that? Uncle's voice trembled slightly. Xingyuan looked him straight in the eye. What I'm saying is, Sukur had ulterior motives from the very beginning. This wasn't some impulsive act, it was deliberate sabotage. She thought she was clever enough to get what she wanted through these underhanded tactics. Now that her plan has fallen through, she's putting on the poor little me act to fish for sympathy. Then he turned to me and said, Wan, I came to ask if you'd like to go to the library with me. I nodded and said, sure. Wait, Sukur suddenly stood up. Xingyuan, I know I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'll redo my college applications right now. I promise I won't compete with you for the same school anymore. Xingyuan didn't even glance at her. No need. I've already resubmitted my college preferences. What? Everyone stared at him in astonishment. I went to a classmate's house last night and used his computer to resubmit my application choices, Xingyuan said calmly, but instead of selecting University of Science and Technology Beijing, I chose Shanghai Jiaotong University. Why? I couldn't help but ask. Xingyuan looked at me, his gaze softening slightly, because I don't want certain people to think their plan has succeeded, even if she stole my original choice. I won't be attending that school anymore. I want her to know that everything she did was completely pointless. With that, he turned to leave. Xingyuan, Sukur called after him. I know I was wrong. Xingyuan stopped and looked back at her. So what if you know you were wrong? Missed opportunities won't return, and the harm caused won't just disappear. Do you really think a simple apology can erase everything? What do you want then? Sukur asked through tears. I want nothing. Xingyuan shook his head. I just want to stay away from you all and never cross paths again. With that, he walked away without looking back. I followed him out the door. Behind me, Sukur's heart-wrenching sobs echoed, accompanied by the scolding voices of my aunt and uncle. But none of that concerned me anymore. I wouldn't waste my time and energy on people who weren't worth it anymore. I want to walk with Xingyuan toward the future that belongs to us. The library was quiet. Xingyuan and I sat by the window with a few books spread out in front of us, but neither of us was in the mood for reading. Wan, Xingyuan suddenly spoke up. Do you know what makes me angriest? I looked up at him and asked, what? It's not that Sukur broke my computer, nor that she stole my aspirations, he said in a low voice. It's that she made me lose faith in this world. I always believed that there was at least some basic goodwill between people, even if we can't help each other. At the very least we wouldn't intentionally cause harm. But Sukur made me realize that some people wouldn't hesitate to harm innocent individuals for their own gain. I listened quietly, feeling a pang of sadness in my heart. In his past life, Xingyuan's personality was also transformed by this incident. He went from being a sunny, outgoing boy to becoming an aloof young man who kept everyone at arm's length. He no longer believed in friendship, in love, or even in family bonds. He shut himself away, keeping everyone at a distance. Honestly, the one who disappointed me most was my own mother, Xingyuan said with a bitter smile. When she came home yesterday, she actually tried to persuade me to forgive Sukur. She said Sukur is still young and doesn't know any better, and told me not to hold it against her. She also said that since we're all neighbors who see each other all the time, there's no need to make things so awkward between us. I was taken aback. Auntie really said that? Yes, Xingyuan nodded. She even said that if I really wanted to go to the University of Science and Technology Beijing, she could beg Sukur to give up her spot for me. Do you have any idea how furious I was when I heard that? In his past life, Xingyuan had a huge argument with his mother over this very matter. He felt like none of his family members were on his side. None of them were outraged by what he had gone through. The feeling of betrayal by one's own family cuts deeper and hurts more than any harm from outsiders. My mom, Xingyuan's voice choked up. Why can't she understand me? Why does she always expect me to back down and be the bigger person? Are my feelings not important at all? I reached out and held his hand. Brother Yuan, not everyone is like that. At least I understand you, and I've got your back. Xingyuan looked at me, a glimmer of warmth in his eyes. Wan, thank you. If even you won't stand by me, I truly don't know what to do. My heart ached. In my past life, I truly hadn't stood by his side. I was blinded by my uncle and aunt's words, and deceived by Sukur's tears. I thought that by smoothing things over, everyone could continue to live in harmony. I assumed Xingyuan would gradually forget about the incident and forgive Sukur for her mistake. I even naively believed that time could heal all wounds. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never truly heal. and then, some trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. Yuan Go, I said, looking at him earnestly, this isn't your fault. You're not responsible for the choices others make. Sukur did something wrong, and she should face the consequences. Your mother not understanding you is her issue, not yours. Just do what you believe is right, don't worry about anyone else's feelings. Shin Yuan nodded. I know, I've figured it out. Starting today, I'm going to live for myself. I won't compromise myself to please others anymore, nor sacrifice my own interests for someone else's sake. I'm going to Shanghai Jiaotong University to study the major I truly want, and live the life I've always envisioned. What about me? I asked. Can we still be friends? Shin Yuan paused for a moment, then smiled. Of course, you're my most important friend, no matter where I go. This fact remains unchanged. Around this time in my previous life, Shin Yuan began to harbor suspicions about me too. He suspected that Sukur and I were in cahoots, believing I had played a shady role in the whole affair. It wasn't until years later that he realized I had been a victim as well. But this time around, things are different, in this life. I've been on the right side from the very beginning. I wasn't pressured by anyone, nor did I make any wrong choices. Wan, Shin Yuan suddenly asked, which university are you planning to apply to? I thought for a moment. I haven't made up my mind completely, but it'll probably be a school in Shanghai too. Really? Shin Yuan's eyes lit up. That's fantastic. We can still be classmates. Watching his delighted expression, a wave of warmth washed over me. It was a feeling I'd never experienced in my past life. In our previous life, we lost contact completely after graduating from high school. He went to a vocational college, while I attended a university. He settled for an ordinary job in a small town, while I chased my dreams in the big city. We became people from two different worlds, our paths never crossing again, but in this lifetime, everything is different. We'll continue our friendship in the same city. By the way, I remembered something. You mentioned yesterday that you overheard Sukur talking with her friends. Was everything she said true? Shin Yuan nodded. Every word of it was true. She also said she dared to do this because she knew you wouldn't stop her. She said you've always been weak-willed since childhood, never one to confront others. She claimed that with just a few fake tears and playing the victim, you'd soften up and speak up for her. Hearing these words, my heart was tangled in a knot of mixed emotions. That's exactly how Sukur from my past life saw me. In her eyes, I was just a tool she could use however she pleased, a perpetual pushover who'd never fight back and always clean up her messes. What else did she say? I asked. She said once she moves to Beijing, she'll forget everyone here. Shin Yuan's voice turned icy, her parents included, you included. She said she'd find some rich boyfriend in the big city and never come back to this provincial town, and in her past life. That's exactly what Sukur did. She dropped out after just 1 year in Beijing. But she never returned home. She spent a few years as an internet celebrity in Beijing, made some money, and then vanished. No one ever found out where she went or how she was doing. Even her aunt and uncle lost all contact with her. Wan, Shin Yuan looked at me earnestly. I want you to understand something. It's happening. Someone like Sukur doesn't deserve a single thing from you. Save your kindness for those who truly deserve it, not for wasting on her. I nodded and said, I understand. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. It was already dusk when I stepped out of the library. Shin Yuan and I parted ways at the intersection and headed home separately, standing at my doorstep. I took a deep breath. What awaited me next were the interrogations from my aunt and uncle, along with Sukur's tearful onslaught. But I'm ready for this. This time, I won't hold back. Pushing the door open, I found the living room eerily quiet. But why should I? Sukur was nowhere to be seen. My uncle and aunt sat on the sofa, their expressions grim. You're back, Wan, Auntie said, her tone heavy. I nodded. Where's Kur? In her room, Uncle replied. We just had a good talk. Uncle and Auntie exchanged a glance before Uncle spoke up. Kur told us everything that happened, including what she said at the internet cafe. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, what did she say? She said. Aunt's voice trembled slightly. She said she had planned from the very beginning to steal Shin Yuan's college application spot. She also said she knew you wouldn't stop her, because you've always been weak-willed. She even said that after she's done using you, she's never coming back to this house. I kept a calm expression, and then, my uncle gave a bitter smile, and then we realized we never truly understood our own daughter. We thought she was just a bit willful and spoiled, but we never imagined she could be so calculating. what's even more shocking is that she would hurt those who care about her just to get what she wants. Aunt wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. Wan, we've wronged you. We always made you give in to Kur. Always expected you to accommodate her. We thought it was for your own good, that it would help you two sisters get along better. I never realized we were enabling her to hurt you. I sat down across from them. It's not too late to understand now. But it's already too late. Uncle shook his head. We've completely alienated Xin Yuan. How awkward it's going to be when we see each other again. That's not even the main issue, Aunt said. What really matters is Kur's college application choices. She's revised her applications and picked an ordinary local university. Even though her scores are good enough, the teaching quality at that school, well, it's disappointing. I shrugged. It's her decision to make, and she'll have to live with the consequences. Wan, do you really not feel the slightest bit of sympathy for Kur? My aunt looked at me. You two grew up together and were so close, I sneered. Auntie, are you mistaken about something? Our relationship has always been one-sided. I always treated her like a sister, but she treated me like a fool. I always had her best interests at heart, yet she was scheming behind my back. What's the point of holding on to a relationship like this? My uncle and aunt were left speechless by my words. Just then, Sukur emerged from the room. Her eyes were swollen and red like peaches, and she looked utterly exhausted. Cousin. She approached me, her voice hoarse. I need to talk to you. I know I was wrong. Sukur's tears started falling again. I shouldn't have schemed against you, shouldn't have taken advantage of your kindness, and I especially shouldn't have said those hurtful things. Can you ever forgive me? I watched her finish her performance in silence before asking, do you really think I'd forgive you? Sukur froze for a moment. I was hoping you'd give me another chance. Another chance. I stood up. Do you honestly think you deserve one, Kur? Do you know what Xin Yuan told me today? Sukur shook her head. He said you made him lose faith in this world. I articulated word by word. He said he doesn't trust anyone anymore. He also said he's leaving this place to start over somewhere no one knows him. This is what your apology has gotten us. Sukur turned pale. I didn't know. You didn't know. I sneered. Of course you didn't. Because you never care about anyone else's feelings. You only care about whether you achieve your goals and get what you want. As for how much others get hurt because of it, you simply don't care. Sukur was left speechless, unable to offer any retort, and could only continue crying. Her uncle couldn't stand it anymore. Wan, don't be so hard on Kur. She already knows she was wrong, so what if she admits she was wrong? I turned to my uncle. Even criminals in court say they know they've done wrong. Does that mean they should be let off the hook? Besides, does she really understand what she did wrong? If she had the chance to do it all over again, she'd make the same choice, because in her mind, her own interests will always come first. My uncle was so embarrassed by my words that he turned red and couldn't utter a single word. Sukur suddenly rushed over and hugged my leg, pleading, Cousin, I really know I was wrong. I'll never dare to do it again. I'll study hard and be a better person. Please don't ignore me. Okay, you're the only family I have left. I looked down at her, feeling completely unmoved. In my past life, it was precisely this kind of tearful manipulation that won me over. I thought she had truly repented and would change for the better. Instead, she escalated her behavior, continuing to exploit my kindness with even more outrageous actions. Kur, I bent down, looking into her eyes. Remember what I'm telling you today. From today on, we're just cousins, nothing more. I won't cover for your mistakes anymore, nor will I clean up your messes. Whatever kind of life you want, you'll have to earn it yourself, but don't even think about using me again. With that, I pushed her away and retreated to my room. Behind me, her sobs grew more piercing, mingled with the comforting voices of my aunt and uncle, but none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, took out my phone, and sent a text to Xin Yuan. Yuan, I've made up my mind. I'm applying to Shanghai Jiaotong University for the English program. Let's work hard together and both make it to Shanghai. He replied quickly, that's fantastic. Let's go explore the wider world together. Reading his message, I couldn't help but smile. For the first time in 18 years, I feel this light. No burdens, no guilt, no self-blame. The atmosphere at home remained tense over the next few days. Sukur grew quiet, speaking little and shutting herself in her room all day. My uncle and aunt spoke cautiously in front of me, afraid of saying something wrong again. Meanwhile, I was focused on finalizing my college application submissions. On the morning of the fourth day, while I was organizing materials in my room, I suddenly heard a heated argument coming from the living room. What did you say? My aunt's voice was piercingly shrill. I set down my pen and walked over to the door to listen. Mom, I don't want to go to that school. Sukur's tearful voice came through. Why don't you want to go? Her uncle's voice sounded weary. It's the best university in the city, and you should be proud you got in with your scores. But all my classmates are making fun of me, Sukur said between sobs. They say I tried to steal someone else's college spot and ended up ruining my own chances. They even said I deserved this outcome. At this same time in her previous life, Sukur had faced an identical predicament. She became the laughingstock of the school, with everyone gossiping about her situation. Some called her calculating, others said she'd brought it upon herself. In short, she became the target of public criticism. What nonsense are those classmates spouting? The aunt said angrily. You haven't done anything that terrible, but I really did make a mistake. Sukur's voice grew even softer. I shouldn't have taken Shinyuan's college application spot. Enough, it's all in the past, the uncle said impatiently. What's the point of talking about this now? The key is for you to decide whether you actually want to go to college or not. If you don't want to, then go straight to work. It's not like you're cut out for studying anyway. Sukur cried even harder. Dad, I do want to go to college. But I don't want to go here. Then where do you want to go? Her aunt asked. I want to go to Beijing, Sukur murmured under her breath. The living room fell silent instantly. After a long pause, her uncle finally spoke up. Kur, your grades aren't good enough. How could you go to Beijing? I could use money, Sukur said. I've heard some schools accept sponsorship fees. Sponsorship fees. Uncle's voice rose sharply. Do you have any idea how much that would cost? At least over 100,000. Where would our family get that kind of money, then? Then we could take out a loan, Sukur persisted. A loan? Aunt snapped angrily. Kur, have you lost your mind? So the whole family has to go into debt just for you to attend some worthless college. Is it really worth it? Sukur was left speechless and could only continue crying. Listening to this conversation left me with mixed emotions. In her past life, Sukur did end up going to Beijing. Her aunt and uncle sold their house to fund her dream, sparing no expense. I sneered inwardly. But she dropped out after just 1 year, claiming university life was unbearably dull. All that tuition and living expenses, over 100,000, went straight down the drain. My uncle and aunt were saddled with debt for years because of this, and their quality of life plummeted. And what about Sukur? After dropping out of school, she vanished and never returned home. It wasn't until my uncle fell ill and needed money for treatment that they thought to contact her. Turns out she'd changed her number ages ago, and no one had a clue where she'd gone. Aunt called out suddenly, come here for a moment. I smoothed my clothes and stepped out of the room. In the living room, Sukur was sobbing on the couch, with uncle and aunt standing by looking grim. Kur wants to go to college in Beijing, my aunt said, but we don't have enough money. I raised an eyebrow, and, so, my aunt hesitated. We were wondering if you could lend us some money. I had lived through this exact scene in my past life, but back then, I agreed without a moment's hesitation. I used up all my savings from over the years and even borrowed a large sum from classmates and friends, all just to help Sukur realize her dream of going to Beijing. The money all went down the drain, and I was left saddled with debt. Borrow money. I looked at my aunt. How much? 150,000. My aunt said in a low voice, 150,000. I feigned surprise. That much? We know it's a huge amount. My uncle quickly added, but we're really out of options. Kur is your cousin. You've watched her grow up since she was little. How could you bear to see her lose the chance to go to college just because of money? I looked at them, my heart filled with bitter irony. They said the exact same thing in my past life. They say blood is thicker than water, that family bonds are priceless. They told me if I helped just this once, Sukur would surely repay me someday. Not only did Sukur fail to repay me, she started treating me like a cash cow. She figured if I could come up with 150,000 yuan, I must be rolling in money, so whenever she ran into trouble, she'd come to me for money. She needed money for clothes, for makeup, and she even expected me to foot the bill for her dates with her boyfriend. She treated me like her personal ATM. Uncle, aunt, I said calmly, I don't have that kind of money, no. My aunt was taken aback. But didn't you say you had savings? My savings are for college, I explained. Tuition, living expenses, and other costs. It all adds up to quite a bit. Besides, 150,000 is a huge amount for me. My uncle's face darkened. Wan. Are you saying you don't want to lend it to us? It's not that I don't want to lend the money. I simply can't afford to. I shook my head. Besides, I don't think it's necessary for the whole family to go into debt just so Kaur can go to Beijing. The universities in our city are perfectly good too. Why does she have to go to Beijing? Kaur suddenly looked up, glaring at me angrily. Because I don't want to be humiliated here. I don't want to be laughed at by my classmates and looked down on by my teachers every single day. I'm going somewhere nobody knows me to start over. But have you thought about what comes after you get to Beijing? I countered. Your scores weren't high enough to begin with, even if you pay your way in. Do you think you can keep up with the coursework? What if you can't handle the studies? Wouldn't that 150,000 yuan just go down the drain? Kaur was left speechless by my question. But uncle got angry. Wan, how could you say that to Kaur? Even though her grades aren't good, she's not an idiot. With enough effort, she can definitely improve. What if she still can't learn well even after trying her hardest? I pressed on. What if she drops out midway? Who's going to be responsible for this money? The living room fell into a terrifying silence. Everyone was staring at me as if I'd said something outrageous. Wan, my aunt's voice trembled slightly. What's gotten into you today? Why are you being so hard on Kaur? I'm not being hard on her. I'm just stating facts, I said calmly. You know Kaur's personality and capabilities better than I do. You should have a pretty good idea whether she can tough it out in Beijing. Is it worth plunging the whole family into debt for an uncertain future? With that, I turned and went back to my room, leaving a roomful of silent people behind. 10 minutes later, I heard the sound of things being thrown and Kaur's furious cursing coming from her room. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. In this lifetime, I won't be that fool who sacrifices myself for someone else's dreams anymore. That evening, my uncle asked to speak with me alone. He sat by my bedside. His expression grave. Wan, I'd like to talk with you about what happened today. I set down my book. What did you want to say, uncle? I want to ask you, do you have some issue with Kaur? He looked me straight in the eyes. Ever since the incident with Xin Yuan, your attitude toward her has changed. You weren't like this before. You always protected her and helped her, but now you're constantly picking on her. Why is that? I looked at my uncle, feeling a bit amused inside. In my past life, he had asked me the same question. Back then, I flusteredly explained that I wasn't targeting Kaur, but simply felt she should learn to take responsibility, but uncle didn't believe me at all, saying I was just jealous of Kaur. I don't want to explain anymore. Uncle, how do you think I should treat Kaur? I asked in return. You should care for her and help her, just like before, uncle said matter-of-factly. You're cousins, you ought to support each other. But when she needed my help, did she ever consider my feelings? When she asked to borrow 150,000 from me, did she ever stop to consider what difficulties I might face? My uncle paused. Well, that's different. How is it different? I pressed. Why must I help her when she's in trouble? Yet she can completely disregard my concerns when I have them. Is this what you call mutual support? My uncle was left speechless by my question. After a moment, he finally said, Wan, I know Kaur was in the wrong this time, but she's already been punished. Why can't you find it in your heart to forgive her? Forgive? I sneered. Uncle, do you have any idea what Xin Yuan is going through right now? What do you mean? Because of this incident, he's lost all trust in everyone, I said, enunciating each word clearly, including his own mother, including me. So what happened? Now all he does is study. He has no interest in anything else and refuses to see anyone. He said he wanted to go somewhere no one knew him, to start his life over. This is the fallout from Kaur's so-called little mistake. Uncle's face darkened. But you can't put all the blame on Kaur alone. If not her, then who? I stood up. Are you saying Xin Yuan is at fault for not being forgiving enough? Or is it my fault for not being kind enough to clean up her mess? Uncle opened his mouth, but no words came out. Uncle, I want to ask you something. I looked at him. If it were Kaur who got hurt, and Xin Yuan was the one who harmed her, would you ask Kaur to forgive him? Uncle shook his head without hesitation. Of course not. Then why are you demanding Xin Yuan forgive Kaur now that he's the victim? What kind of logic is that? My uncle flushed crimson, rendered speechless by my questioning. Let me ask you something else, uncle, I continued. If Kaur had succeeded today, if she'd actually stolen Xin Yuan's university spot and gotten into Beijing University of Technology, would you think she did anything wrong? Uncle fell silent for a long time before whispering, maybe not, because then she could go to a good school, I nodded and said, I understand. In your minds, the ends justify the means, as long as Kuer can live well. It doesn't matter how much others get hurt, so this is your value system. Uncle grew agitated. Wan, that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I cut him off. You said it yourself. If Kuer succeeds, you wouldn't think she did anything wrong. What does this tell you? It shows you don't actually see anything wrong with her actions. The only problem you have is that she didn't succeed. My uncle was completely speechless. Looking at him like that, my heart filled with disappointment. In my past life, it took me years to see this family for what they truly were. My aunt and uncle never genuinely cared for me. They just needed a tool, someone always available to serve Kuer. Their so-called affection always came with strings attached. They'd only treat me well if I obeyed, submitted, and sacrificed for Kuer. The moment I started thinking for myself and refused to be used, they turned their backs on me without a second thought. Uncle, I said calmly. I'm 18 now, a legal adult. I have the right to choose how I live my life, and the right to decide whether or not to help others. If Kuer made a mistake, she should face the consequences. I won't cover for her mistakes anymore, nor will I clean up her messes. If you can't accept that, then we have nothing left to discuss. With that, I opened the door and gestured for them to leave. My uncle stared at me, his eyes burning with anger and disappointment. Wan, you've changed. He stood up. You've become a stranger to me. You used to be so kind, so considerate. You'd never say such cruel things before. The person you are now feels completely unfamiliar to me. I smiled and said, Uncle, it's not that I've changed, it's that I've finally come to my senses. I used to be genuinely kind, so kind it bordered on foolishness. I thought if I were good enough and gave enough, I'd earn everyone's sincerity in return. But what did I get? Only more exploitation and hurt. Now I understand. Kindness must have its limits, and help must be guided by principles. Being kind to those who don't deserve it is cruelty to those who do. My uncle glared at me angrily. You're just making excuses for your selfishness. Selfish, I retorted. You call it selfish when I refuse to pay for others' mistakes. Then what's selflessness? Taking the blame for everyone else's errors. Uncle, I must say I'm truly impressed by your logic. Uncle's face flushed red with anger, and he turned to leave. At the doorway, he glanced back at me and said, Wan, you'll regret this. Kuer is your only family. You'll come to regret treating her this way. I shook my head. You're mistaken, Uncle. Blood ties don't mean everything. Genuine care is what truly matters. Kuer has never treated me like family. She only sees me as a tool to be used. In that case, why should I consider her family? Without another word, my uncle slammed the door shut. The room fell silent once more. I returned to bed and went back to reading, but my mind remained unsettled for a long time. In this lifetime, I won't look back anymore. I know that starting today, my relationship with this family has fundamentally changed. I'm no longer that obedient, well-behaved child, nor am I a tool to be used at will. I've become what they call a selfish person, a heartless person, because I've finally learned to protect myself, to live for my own sake. The next morning, I was woken by a commotion. Kuer's crying came from the living room, along with the comforting voices of her uncle and aunt. I glanced at the time. It was only 6 in the morning. Kuer, don't cry anymore. Your voice is getting hoarse, my aunt said, her voice full of concern. Mom, I really don't want to go to college here, Kuer said with a sob. When I went to school yesterday, all the classmates were talking behind my back. They said I'm calculating and manipulative, that I brought this on myself. Even the teachers look at me strangely, as if I'm some kind of troublemaker. Listening from my room, I couldn't help but shake my head. In her past life, Kuer was just the same. She'd burst into tears at the first sign of trouble. And whenever she felt wronged, she'd run to her parents to be coddled. She never thought about how to solve problems, only about how to escape reality. What nonsense are those classmates spouting? Her uncle said angrily. You haven't broken any laws. What right do they have to gossip about you? But I really did do something wrong. Kuer murmured softly. What's wrong with that? Aunt said indignantly. You just want to attend a good university. What's so bad about that? It's Xingyuan who's being petty, completely unwilling to compromise. I nearly burst out laughing in my room. Even now, Aunt still thinks it's Xingyuan's fault. Absolutely hopeless. Mom, please don't say that, Kuer said. It's my fault. I shouldn't have taken Xingyuan's intended college spot. Enough. It's all in the past, Uncle said impatiently. The important thing now is to figure out how to solve this problem. Do you actually want to go to Beijing or not? If you do, We'll find a way to pool the money together. Really, Dad? Sukur's voice instantly brightened with excitement. You'd actually let me go to Beijing? Of course, her uncle said. You're our daughter. If we don't support you, who will? But what about the money? Sukur asked anxiously. We'll figure out the finances, her aunt reassured her. Worst case, we can take out a loan against the house. We've lived in this house for so many years anyway. It's time for a change of scenery. Hearing these words left me with mixed emotions. In their previous life, that's exactly what they did. They mortgaged the house to the bank and took out a loan of 150,000, myself included, but after Sukur dropped out of school, they couldn't repay the loan, and the bank ended up foreclosing on the house. The family had to rent a place to live, and their quality of life plummeted. Sukur was completely unaware of all this. She was living what she thought was a glamorous life in Beijing, completely oblivious to her family's situation. Mom, Dad, you've been so good to me, Sukur said excitedly. I'll study hard and live up to your expectations. Of course, Uncle said with a smile. You're our pride and joy. We have every confidence you'll succeed. I shook my head in my room. They never see reality clearly, forever trapped in their own delusions. They think throwing money at the problem can change Sukur's destiny. They don't understand that a person's character and abilities can't be bought with money. Oh, that's right, my aunt suddenly said. What about Wan? Yesterday she said she didn't want to lend us the money. Whether she lends it or not is up to her. My uncle snorted coldly. We'll figure it out ourselves. Anyway, she's independent now and doesn't treat us like family anymore. Of course I know. In that case, we shouldn't count on her anymore, Sukur asked in a hushed voice. Dad, is cousin really angry with me? It's natural for her to be upset, her aunt said. After all, you were clearly in the wrong here. But her reaction was way over the top. She didn't even consider family ties. Didn't she used to dote on you the most? How could she become so heartless now? It's probably because of Xin Yuan, Sukur speculated. Cousin has always had feelings for Xin Yuan. Now that he's ignoring her, she's taking her frustration out on me. I let out a cold laugh in my room. To this day, Sukur still doesn't understand that my anger isn't about Xin Yuan. It's about her deception and how she used me. She never admits her mistakes and always shifts the blame onto others. Then let's just leave her be, Uncle said. We'll live our own lives. Kur, get ready. We're going to Beijing next week to look at schools. Really? That's amazing. Sukur squealed excitedly, listening to their conversation. I felt completely at peace. In my previous life at this very moment, I was deeply concerned about their decision. I worried they'd be buried under crushing debt, and that Sukur would struggle to adapt to life in Beijing. I even considered changing my mind and offering them financial help, but now, I don't feel like doing anything. Their choice, their consequences. I'm done with this. After getting up and washing my face, I stepped out of the room. In the living room, Sukur was excitedly talking on the phone, probably sharing the good news with a friend. My uncle and aunt looked somewhat awkward when they saw me come out. Wan, my aunt said tentatively, about yesterday. Let's leave yesterday behind. I cut her off. I respect your decision, Uncle snorted coldly. At least you know what's good for you. I ignored him and went to the kitchen to fix breakfast by myself. During the meal, Sukur kept talking about Beijing. She said she wanted to make lots of friends in Beijing and live an exciting college life. She also mentioned that once she's settled in Beijing, she'll bring her parents over to enjoy a comfortable life. My uncle and aunt beamed with joy, as if everything she said would come true. I watched from the sidelines without saying a word. After breakfast, I got ready to go out and find Xin Yuan. Just as I reached the door, Sukur suddenly called out to me, but I was wrong. Cousin, she approached me with an ingratiating smile. I know you're still angry with me, but we grew up together and share such a deep bond. Can you really not forgive me? I looked at her and said calmly, Kur, there's nothing to forgive between us. You have your choices, and I have my principles. Since we're on different paths, let's each go our own way. A sigh from Sukur echoed behind me, but I knew she would soon forget this unpleasantness. She was about to leave for Beijing to pursue the new life she had always dreamed of, whatever this new life would bring her. That was her own affair. In early September, Xin Yuan and I boarded the train to Shanghai together. The scenery outside the window rushed backward, just like the past we were leaving behind. Are you nervous, Wan? Xin Yuan asked. A little, I said honestly, but more than anything, I'm excited. Me too, Xin Yuan smiled. We can finally start a new life. We exchanged smiles, our eyes filled with hope for the future. The train was quiet, I took out my phone and saw a text from my aunt, Wan. Please let us know you've arrived safely in Shanghai. Even though we've had our differences, you'll always be our niece. Reading her message, I felt a mix of emotions. After a moment, I replied, I will. Please take care of yourselves too. This may be our last peaceful conversation, because I know they'll soon find themselves in trouble over Sukuer's situation, and when that happens, I'll be the first person they turn to for help, but this time, I won't show any mercy. What's on your mind? Xinyuan asked. Thinking about the future, I said, we should both work hard and make the most of this fresh start. Absolutely, Xinyuan said earnestly. I'm going to study hard in college and become a skilled engineer someday. I'll dedicate myself to mastering English, hoping to work as a translator in the future. I heaved a sigh of relief. Let's give it our all. Xinyuan extended his hand. I shook his hand firmly. We're in this together. When we arrived in Shanghai, we went our separate ways to register at our respective universities. Shanghai Jiaotong University was vast and beautiful, with plane trees lining every pathway. I moved into the dorm, and my roommates are all very friendly. They asked where I was from, and I told them a small town. When they asked why I chose to major in English, I said it was because I love it. They didn't ask about my family background or my past experiences. Here, I can start over and become whoever I want to be. That evening, Xinyuan texted me, Wan, Shanghai is truly wonderful. I think we made the right choice. I replied, yes, this is our fresh start. 2 months later, I got a call from my aunt. She was in tears, telling me that Sukuer had gotten into trouble in Beijing and had been expelled from school. She said Sukuer was now refusing to come home and wouldn't answer their calls. She explained they'd mortgaged their house to pay for Sukuer's education, and now they couldn't keep up with the loan payments. She begged me through tears to help them, saying I was the family's only hope. I listened quietly until she finished, then said, Aunt, I'm sorry, but this is something I can't help with. Wan, how could you do this? Aunt said angrily, Kuer is your cousin, we're your family. Blood is thicker than water. How can you just stand by and watch our family fall apart? Aunt, I said calmly, these are the consequences of your own choices. I warned you back then not to mortgage the house just to send Sukuer to Beijing, but you wouldn't listen, and even accused me of being selfish and uncaring about family. Now that there's trouble, you suddenly remember I exist. But, my aunt tried to say something more. Aunt, I'm an adult now, I have my own life to live. I cut her off. I can't keep paying for other people's mistakes forever. How Sukuer is doing in Beijing is her own business. Losing your house was the consequence of your own choices. None of this has anything to do with me. My phone started ringing again immediately, but I didn't answer it. I turned off my phone and walked out to the balcony to take in the night view. The Shanghai night was beautiful, with neon lights twinkling and a steady stream of traffic flowing through the streets. This city is brimming with opportunities, a place where one can truly start over. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief I'd never known before. The burden I'd carried for 18 years was finally lifted completely. After 18 long years, I've finally let go of that obsession for good. From today onward, I'm living for myself and no one else. I'm determined to carve out my own path in this city and make my dreams a reality. As for the people and things from my past, I'm leaving them right where they belong. In the past, a year later, I heard Sukuer had become an internet celebrity in Beijing, making money through hype and pushing boundaries, but soon, her account was suspended for violating the law. My uncle and aunt's house was eventually repossessed by the bank, forcing them to rent a place. The stress took a toll on my uncle's health, and he now requires long-term treatment. My aunt called me several times, hoping I'd come back to help. It's not that I'm heartless, but I've finally learned to protect myself. Meanwhile, Xinyuan excelled in university, consistently ranking at the top of his class. We often studied together and discussed our future plans. Our friendship grew even deeper than before. This time, we've all learned to take responsibility for our own choices. We've come to understand that true growth means learning to say no to unreasonable demands, no to emotional manipulation, and no to anyone trying to take advantage of our kindness. Only then can we protect ourselves and extend help to those truly deserving of it. This is the most important lesson I've learned in the past 18 years. It's also the principle I'm most determined to uphold in this lifetime. Story 2. I had been secretly in love with my childhood friend for 10 years. After one reckless night, he despised me for 10 years. He finally got his wish when he died in a car accident. soaring away with his true love. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on that ambiguous, drunken night. I grabbed my belongings and fled, but then I heard that Shinshua, who had always been proud, had turned City upside down searching for his childhood sweetheart. I had actually been reborn. Outside the house, neon lights flickered. Inside, the air was scorching hot. I pinched the palm of my hand hard. It hurt. It wasn't a dream. Oh, but that's not right. I was already dead. Even if it wasn't a dream, I shouldn't have been able to feel pain. Yang, the man's hoarse voice echoed in my ear. My whole body shuddered. I was not only reborn but also back on that fateful night. Yang, Shinshua held my chin and kissed me passionately. I turned my face away, and his hot breath landed on my neck. No, that wasn't it. He wasn't calling Yang, but Yang, Qinwei's nickname, in my past life. I thought he had finally noticed me, overjoyed. I spent a wild night with him. Only later did I realize that Shinshua had always loved Qinwei. He was just drunk and mistook me for her. Shinshua, sober up. I pushed him away forcefully. I had been secretly in love with him for 10 years. After that night, however, he hated me for 10 years. Fortunately, this time, nothing had happened yet. Shinshua paused, then looked down at me. There was no light in the room, but the light from outside was bright. He was drunk but still had a fair complexion and calm eyes, so much so that in my past life, I thought he was sober. Yang, he seemed to finally see my face clearly, his voice tinged with a strange tone, but the next second, his expression turned murky and complex. He urgently cupped my face and kissed me again. I raised my knee and kicked, pushing him away with all my might. I rushed out the door, too, breathing the cold air outside. I took out my phone and checked the time over and over. I had to be sure. I really had been reborn. I rushed home quickly, memories of my past life flooding back. Shinshua and I were childhood friends, our families close. That night, it was supposed to be Aunt Shin who called me, saying Shinshua wasn't answering his phone and asked me to check on him. I always knew the passcode to Shinshua's apartment. I managed to open the door and encountered the drunken man. I had loved Shinshua for many years. His repeated calls of Yang were something I couldn't resist. I didn't return home all night, and the next morning, both our parents arrived to find Shinshua and me lying on the same bed. Our clothes were strewn all over the floor. Both families had intentions of matching us together, and this incident was just what they wanted, just as I was about to graduate from college. Our wedding plans were set. I was overjoyed during that time. After years of secret affection, to finally achieve this felt like reaching the heavens. I thought Shinzhou was happy too. He always had a cool demeanor, rarely showing his emotions outwardly, but he was there with me, taking wedding photos, choosing the engagement ring, never once saying no. Until our wedding day, a beautifully made-up girl cried inconsolably in the audience. Everyone thought Shinzhou was kissing me, but he was actually gritting his teeth, whispering in my ear, "Jiangyang, are you satisfied with this outcome?" Before this, I didn't know Qinwei. Shinzhou was 2 grades above me. We were in the same city but not the same university. I had never heard about him liking any girl, nor had I heard about him being in a relationship. Shinzhou gave me an unforgettable wedding night. He accused me of drugging him that night. He furiously claimed it was all intentionally planned by me. Jiangyang, your malice is chilling, your affection is disgusting, you so wanted to be with me. I'll let you have it. You've ruined my happiness. You'll never find happiness in this lifetime. He slammed the door and left, starting a decade of deep-seated hatred towards me. I slapped my cheeks hard, took a deep breath, and then went upstairs. Yang, you're back so soon. Is little Zhou okay? Hearing my mother's voice and seeing my father reading in the living room, my nose tingled with emotion. It felt good. It was the scene I missed the most. For many years after marrying Shinzhou, I dared not return home. Yang, I mumbled an he's fine. He really was fine. On the way back, I had called an ambulance for him. Whether I drugged him, and what kind of drug, let the doctors figure it out. Yang, what does this line say? Help Dad look. Suppressing the unease in my heart, I pretended everything was fine and joked around with my parents for a while before returning to my room. As soon as I entered, I saw the desk covered with photos of me and Shinzhou from our childhood to adulthood. I opened the drawer, and there lay the diary, unharmed. Shinzhou had read aloud my expressions of love for him right in front of me. I still vividly remember him tearing the pages one by one, my youthful feelings scattered all over. He sat at this desk, his face mocking and disdainful. Since you were 10, You wanted to claim me as your own, Jiangyang, you really are a freak, indeed. Who else but a freak could do such things? What grave sin had I committed to deserve him calling a 10-year-old child's innocent love freakish? It was not until Qin Wei was about to go abroad that I learned the full story. In a private tea house, Qin Wei was dignified and composed, far different from how she had kneeled and wept at the wedding. I'm getting married now, Miss Jiang. Can those videos be deleted? I was bewildered. She handed me her phone with a smile. On the screen was a chat history. The profile picture and nickname were me. If you're smart, you'll leave Shenzhou early. He and I are childhood sweethearts, betrothed from a young age. Have you no shame? If you don't leave, it doesn't matter. I'll post the videos on the school forum. Let's see who actually belongs with Shenzhou. Ruining myself. Does it matter? Without him, nothing matters. I opened the video. It was from that night of tangled emotions, almost subconsciously. I pulled out my phone. Qin Wei was indeed in my contacts list, but our conversation history was blank. Qin Wei laughed again. Actually, it was I who kindly informed Shen's mother that Zhou was drunk and needed care. I didn't expect Miss Jiang to repay us this way. Her words carried a tone of reproach, but her eyes couldn't hide the triumph. For the sake of Zhou's reputation and future, I had to painfully break up with him. Miss Jiang, you must be pleased. The words she uttered and her expression were so disconnected, it took me a moment to realize she was guarding against me recording her, yet she couldn't help but try to flaunt her power. She twirled the large diamond ring on her middle finger. It wasn't until she was about to leave that she lowered her voice and showed her true colors. Shen's mother is against me being with Zhou. She looks down on me, convinced that you and Zhou are a better match. Too bad. Qin Wei stood up, leaning close to whisper in my ear, Jiangyang, you won't have good days ahead. In this lifetime, Shenzhou will never forget me. Qin Wei was right. Shenzhou and I had no good days. I finally understood why he hated me so much, but it had been 3 years since then. In these 3 years, our relationship had completely fallen apart. He didn't trust me 3 years ago, and 3 years later, he didn't even want to hear my voice. I asked him to let go, but he wouldn't. I wanted a divorce, but he refused. He used my parents' company as leverage, determined to bind me to him, forcing me to face his cold indifference forever. I thought that was it between us, from childhood sweethearts to bitter adversaries. It was both sad and ironic, but Qin Wei's second statement was also true. Shenzhou couldn't forget her. In the 9th year of our marriage, Qin Wei returned to the country after her divorce. Shenzhou and she were seen entering and leaving places together, often photographed hand in hand, sharing passionate kisses. How wonderful, I could finally be free. I specifically chose Qin Wei's birthday to call Shenzhou a divorce agreement. What better birthday gift for Qin Wei? Shenzhou, however, was silent for a long time. Come here, let's talk face to face. Just when I thought he was going to refuse again, he spoke. I looked at the heavy snow outside. I have no other demands. I only want my parents' company. Everything that's yours. I won't take a cent. After today, we won't discuss this again. Then he coldly hung up the phone. I knew he had no affection left for me. Holding the agreement, I left the house, but the snow was too heavy that day, so heavy that when I braked, the tire skidded. Ahead was an elementary school letting out. I sharply turned the steering wheel, and the car flipped. I was so unwilling. To the end, I remained Shenzhou's wife. Yang. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Shenzhou. Was this after I went to the hospital and came to? I didn't reply to him, checking my contacts list. Sure enough, Qin Wei was there at this time. I can't even remember when I added her as a friend. It's all a blur. Yan, where are you? Another message from Shenzhou popped up. I frowned. Although his mother was trying to break us up, he still hadn't completely split from Qin Wei. Why look for me instead of Qin Wei now that he's sober? I exited the chat and noticed numerous unread messages. School had just restarted for my final year, and there were all sorts of messages in the grade and class groups. Xiaoyu, Yan, have you packed your bags? Don't be late tomorrow. I was stunned for a few minutes before snapping out of it. In my previous life, at this time, I had planned to go job hunting in Huicheng with Xiaoyu, but after that incident happened, I thought I ended up with Shenzhou and wanted to stay in the city, so I cancelled the trip to Huicheng. I quickly replied to Xiaoyu, Yu, how about we change our plans a bit? Xiaoyu, me, let's go to Jing City instead. Xiaoyu, Jing City. Xiaoyu is my best friend. As I was thinking about how to explain, she sent another message. Sounds great. I'd follow Yan anywhere without question. I couldn't help but smile. After discussing a bit more, I got up to repack my luggage. When I finished, I threw the group photo on the desk, the diary in the drawer, and even my SIM card into the trash bin. I went to Jing City. Aside from Xiaoyu, no one knew. Even my parents thought I went to Huicheng. Qin Wei's scheming was only half done, and unlike my previous life, I didn't get involved this time. I wasn't sure what other tricks she might pull. A decade of entanglements, a decade of love and hate, whether it's Shenzhou or Qin Wei, I didn't want any more drama with them this time. But a month after arriving in Jing City, Xiaoyu whispered mysteriously to me, "Shenzhou has been looking everywhere for you. He's almost turned Huicheng upside down. He's looking for me." Why? That last push I gave him the other night was quite forceful. His head hit the wall hard. Probably quite badly. Could he still hold a grudge? Forget him. I once thought I understood him, thought what we had was extraordinary. It was all just a fragile illusion. In the second month in Jing City, Xiaoyu found a job smoothly, while I was still dragging my feet. Yan, you didn't trick me into coming here just because you actually don't want to stay in Jing City, did you? Of course not. The third month, I finally got the news I had been waiting for. A junior from high school told me he had a project that was short on funds and asked if I was interested in investing. In my previous life, I had just waited to graduate and marry Shenzhou, and when I heard about this opportunity in Jing City, I immediately rejected it. But that junior later became very successful. In 10 years, he built a billion-dollar empire from scratch. This time, I certainly wouldn't miss out again. I mobilized all the funds I could access, even borrowed some from my parents, and joined Xia Lin's team. One of my biggest mistakes in my previous life was giving up my career after getting married. Shenzhou had made his stance clear, yet I still harbored hopes. I thought there was a misunderstanding between us. I believed that if I did well enough, the bond we had since childhood, there's no hurdle too difficult to overcome. After waking up to reality 2 years later, not only would there be no place for me in his Shen family business, but even my parents' small company wouldn't have room for me to get involved. Little Jiang, how do I look in this outfit? Xia Lin is trying on a suit for a gathering in the industry tonight. I glance at him, speechless. Having lived twice, I've been called Yang and Jiang, and those younger than me call me Sister Jiang or Sister Yang. But he calls me Little Jiang. You look a bit like a waiter. Xia Lin goes to change. Makes your legs look short. Xia Lin changes again. Looks old-fashioned. Xia Lin continues changing. By the fifth outfit, I couldn't help but laugh. I stopped teasing him. Very nice, very handsome, you'll outshine everyone. Beaming with pride, Xia Lin goes to pay the bill. It's no wonder he's successful, smart, good-tempered, never acts superior. He's refreshing to be around. In the car, we review the list of attendees for the evening again. Connections are crucial for a startup. These gatherings are great opportunities to expand our network. But I never expected to run into Shenzhou here. This is my 6th month in Beijing, also my 6th month since being reborn. After reconnecting with Xia Lin, I stopped using all social media and didn't contact any old friends. Of course, I also didn't return to my original city. Even my graduation procedures were handled by Xiaoyu on my behalf. Actually, I noticed Shenzhou not long after entering. He and Qin Wei stood together, a handsome couple, well-matched. Do you know them? Xia Lin asks me quietly. I'm momentarily at a loss for words. I'm just surprised, that's all. The Shen family has always been in traditional industries and didn't get involved in the gaming industry in my past life. Shenzhou shouldn't be here. But then, something even more unexpected happens. Shenzhou seems to notice our gaze and looks up. Our eyes meet from afar, and his eyes suddenly redden. Yang, almost immediately, he pulls his arm away from Qin Wei and strides towards me. I don't understand why he's so emotional. He's usually reserved and indifferent. He only shows his undisguised disgust when he mocks me with a smile. Shenzhou comes over to grab my hand. Instinctively, I step back, and Xia Lin steps forward to shield me. And who might this be? It seems only then does Shenzhou notice Xia Lin. He looks at him, then back at me. His lips twitch but he says nothing. Ajua. Qin Wei quickly follows Shenzhou, immediately taking his arm again. Is it Yang? Yes, I think it is, Ajua. Qin Wei seems excited. She's so beautiful, even more than the photos in your phone. Hello, Miss Jiang, I'm Qin Wei. She extends her hand with a genuine smile. Xiaoming, your name is somewhat similar to Yang. Ajua often mentions you to me. I glance briefly at her still smooth fingers. I'm not particularly keen on shaking her hand. Long time no see. I smile at Shenzhou and introduce the person next to me. this is Xiaolin, the founder of Huayang Games. Mr. Xia, this is President Shen of Fingyu Group. Qin Wei feels ignored and retracts her hand in disappointment. Neither of the men seems interested in shaking hands either. Xiaolin is quite shrewd, probably already sensing something amiss in the air. He says with a chuckling smile, "Is that all? I and Yang, I and President Shen are also alumni," I say with a smile, taking over Shinshua's words. "You could also call President Shen senior like me." Shinshua's expression turns sour. It visibly darkens. He stares at me unblinkingly. "Alumni, senior," he scoffs lightly. "You call this senior," but somehow he seems a bit off. As Xiaolin pours me a drink, he chuckles softly. His girlfriend is right beside him, and yet he glares at me. It's as if I stole his wife. I glance at Shinshua, who is indeed leaning against the rest area, swinging his glass and staring at us from afar. After that brief confrontation, I quickly leave with Xiaolin. Tonight, the people I need to meet clearly aren't Shinshua. There's no need to waste time on him. I might as well show him for real. Xiaolin boldly wraps his arm around my waist. Shinshua's gaze sharpens, and he sets down his glass, about to stand up. Qin Wei holds him back. She tugs at his sleeve and whispers something to him. Shinshua's face softens, and he casually pulls out a tissue to wipe the corner of her mouth. Xiaolin, busy watching the pot while eating from the bowl. "What a dog thing. That should be President Jiang of the Bronze World over there. Let's go meet him." I pull Xiaolin towards the other side, until the banquet ends. Shinshua doesn't approach us again. He and Qin Wei leave early, but the inevitable always catches up. That night, when I return, Shinshua is waiting at the apartment doorway where I rent with Xiaoyu. The autumn in Jing City arrives early. On a cool breezy night at the end of August, Shinshua leans against a corner, a cigarette in hand, its ember flickering in the wind. I send a message to Xiaoyu and walk straight over. "Aren't you avoiding me anymore?" Shinshua's voice is a bit hoarse. "I'm not avoiding you. That's the truth. I simply didn't want to deal with him. Not that I was hiding on purpose." "Why are you looking for me?" I ask. Shinshua pauses slightly with the cigarette in his hand, crushes the butt against the wall, and stands up to approach. I subtly step back. "Let's talk in the car." Shinshua's car is parked downstairs. I noticed it when I got out of Xiaolin's car. I deliberately don't sit in the girlfriend-exclusive passenger seat and open the rear door instead, seeing me sit in the back. Shinshua closes the half-open driver's door and also moves to the back. I have to shift towards the door a bit. The space inside the car isn't cramped, but the atmosphere is somewhat stifling. After a long silence, Shinshua sighs. Yang, I went to your house, but your uncle and aunt wouldn't tell me where you went." "I went to your room." Did you throw away our photo together? And in your desk, I remember there were many diaries." "You also." I give a low chuckle. He gazed at Shinshua intently. "Why do you think I threw those things away? Don't you know?" Being granted a second chance, I thought it was divine favor towards me. I never realized that I wasn't the only one blessed by fate. It's embarrassing to admit, but even after 10 years, I still remember what Shinshua looked like at 23. At 23, Shinshua disliked wearing suits, but if he did, he would opt for a stylish ash gray. At 23, he wasn't fond of red wine, preferring the fancier, more stimulating cocktails, and Shinshua didn't smoke at 23. At that age, he was aloof, quiet, yet bold and unrestrained. I loved him so passionately back then that a few words at a banquet were all I needed to recognize him. The man before me isn't the 23-year-old him. Shinshua was also looking at me. The car's light was off, only the street lights casting shadows inside. In the dim light, his eyes shifted through expressions: surprise, pain, joy, regret, all blending into an indistinct haze. "Certainly. The last thing I want is clarity, Yang. I knew you would. Please don't call me that." I looked at him coldly. "Mr. Shen, our current relationship only warrants the titles of alumni and senior." Shinshua's eyes reddened suddenly, just as they did when he first met me. Yang, I know you've been wronged. That day, with the heavy snow, I was blinded by anger and insisted that you come to talk in person. I didn't really want to break up with you then. Please don't bring up past lives." I interrupted him. "Shinshua, it's not easy to start over. From now on, let's go our separate ways. You marry the one you love, and I'll follow my own path. Please don't come looking for me again. Yang, don't say things you'll regret." Shinshua grabbed my hand. "You said it's not easy to start over. Didn't you always tell me to let go? In our past life, I owed you once, and you owed me once. We're even now. This life, you've realized your mistake, and what are you saying?" I almost doubted my own ears. Realized my mistake, Yang. I was really happy you called the ambulance for me. Shinjua's chin slightly lifted, his gaze fixed on my face. It seemed sincere and straightforward. The affection we've shared since childhood shouldn't be marred by such vile means. Enough. I pulled my hand away. Shinjua, you are simply beyond help. I got out of the car and slammed the door. I never expected Shinjua to know the truth. After I died, my soul wandered for a while, floating up and down, sometimes conscious, sometimes not, but I saw it with my own eyes. Shinjua proposing to Qinwei. The diamond ring was even bigger than the one Qinwei had, and the scene was more lively than the wedding he and I had. At that moment, my soul completely dissipated. Shinjua truly loves Qinwei. How could he bear to doubt her? But I didn't expect that when I pushed him away, his only reaction would be that I had realized my mistake. Indeed, I had said I didn't for so many years. And starting over, he still chose not to believe a single word. My phone vibrated. Xiaolin sent me a link, latest beta version, get on board, me, right away. I must be crazy. Spending another minute on this matter is a disrespect to the billions involved, but clearly, I wasn't the only one eyeing that billion. In the next 10 years, while traditional industries declined, the gaming industry soared. Especially mobile games, as smartphones continued to evolve. As someone who had been reborn, it was only natural for Shinjua to eye this opportunity, so, I often ran into Shinjua in the city. He didn't bother me, but somehow he got my phone number and occasionally sent me messages, like now, stay away from Xiaolin, he doesn't have good intentions towards you. Xiaolin was sitting right next to me when I read this message. I let out a cold laugh. He's trying to be the good guy now. I shifted, sitting closer to me. He even put his arm around my shoulder. This was a promotional event for a new mobile game. There were quite a few investors who had come. I elbowed Xiaolin. Instead, he leaned in close to my ear. Little Jiangzi, how about we really get together and drive him mad? Me, President Xia. Stop being so childish. Who says I'm being childish? I've been an adult for a while now. Before he could finish his sentence, someone forcefully pulled me up by the hand and started dragging me out. 18, Jiangyang. Can't you hear what I'm saying anymore? Shinzhou looked very angry, even more so than when he tore up my diary years ago, but he quickly calmed down. His gaze was a mix of helplessness and sorrow. Yang. He steadied my shoulders. I know you resent me for using your parents' company to manipulate you, but now, I just want to carve out my own path. My gaming company is nearly ready, and I'll soon hand over full control to you. Okay, quit your job at Huayang. And I prepared the villa in Lanshan for you. It's all set up according to your preferences. Yang, let's not miss out on each other again in this lifetime. It took me a moment to grasp his intention. Was he thinking about reconciling with me? Perhaps the sarcasm in my eyes was too intense, as Shinzhou subdued his emotions. He sighed. Yang, I know you're still angry with me. You don't know what happened after you passed away. Shinzhou reached out to touch my cheek, his eyes beginning to redden. Can you give me some more time, just a little more time for me to sort things out? After all, we owe Qinwei. I thought I was prepared, mentally, from last time, but hearing his last words, I couldn't help but laugh. Yes, we owe Qinwei a lot. I brushed off Shinzhou's hand and looked up at him. So, you go and repay it, with your lifetime, for lifetimes to come, and never look back. Yang. I turned and walked away. Yang, wait a bit longer, Shinzhou said firmly from behind. I will give you an explanation. 19. Shinzhou didn't show up again. Xiaoyu said that he took Qinwei on a world tour. Qinwei's social media was filled with happy posts every day. As long as he wasn't in Jing City, I was happy to have some peace. After nearly half a year of exploration, our first mobile game finally took shape. Honestly, this was the first time in 2 lifetimes that I was so focused on something. Xiaolin might be a bit erratic normally, but he was extremely serious when it came to work. The entire Huayang team was young and vibrant. Being with them often made me feel like I was just a recent college graduate. It didn't feel like I had lived those extra 10 grueling years. Jiang Bao, play it again. Are you sure this version is really fun? I must say. Young people have a lot of ideas. Now, at the company, they call me Little Jiangzi, Little Yangzi, Jiang Bao, Yang Bao, all sorts of names. It's quite fun. I nodded earnestly. Actually, I wasn't much into games before. It was all Xiaolin's influence. I've added a few skins. I'll integrate with the platform today. Let's go with this version. After sending off the final version, a young designer patted my shoulder. Jiang Bao. Good luck. Today, I took the game to interface with the platform. If all goes well, this game could be online very soon. I grabbed my computer and sent a message to Xiaolin. At such an important time, he was certainly going as well. However, since he was still a student, we arranged to meet outside the platform company's office. Due to the psychological trauma from a car accident in my past life, I didn't drive. Sitting on the subway, I actually felt somewhat nervous. I only knew that Flower Style later became one of the leading mobile game giants, comparable to that famous Penguin company, but I was not sure how smoothly their start was. This project was the result of over half a year's hard work from the whole team, and naturally, I hoped it would be a smashing success. Yet unexpectedly, before I even reached my destination, just as I exited the subway, I encountered a roadblock. Shenzhou's game company, which Qin Wei also had a hand in, operates within the same industry, where there are only a handful of platforms. It wasn't difficult for her to find out about my itinerary. She didn't seem as carefree and joyful as Xia Yu had described. At least, she seemed far less arrogant than when she used to flaunt her diamond ring in front of me. I glanced at her briefly, then looked away, intending to ignore her. But obviously, she was here for me. Jiang Yang, you've won. You must be very happy, right? I had no idea what she was talking about. I quickened my pace, but she followed close behind. Jiang Yang, what makes you better than me? You're just from a moderately well-off family. Your parents own a small company. Isn't it just because you knew Shenzhou a few years earlier that you've been flattering him all along? Jiang Yang, are you playing hard to get with Shenzhou? I glanced at my watch, not wanting to engage in conversation with her. The two old folks from Shen's family are completely charmed by you. They only recognize you. Now even Shenzhou is on your side. Qin Wei suddenly grabbed my wrist. Jiang Yang, stop pretending to be so aloof and indifferent. Your feelings for Shenzhou, you think I can't see them? Miss Qin, I'm not familiar with you. I pulled away from her. Whatever issues you have with Shenzhou, please discuss them with him directly. We're not familiar. So, you're close with Shenzhou. It was me who dated Shenzhou first. You're the third party. I clenched my teeth and refused to argue with her. Just one more street crossing, and Xiaolin was waiting for me on the other side. But then Qin Wei grabbed hold of me and cried, Miss Jiang, Shenzhou wants to break up with me. No matter how much I beg him, he's determined to leave me. He clearly loved me so much. He praised me for being gentle and kind. He bought me a house and a car. He even took me on a world tour. He once said he would marry me. Now he says all these were just to compensate me. Miss Jiang, please, I can't live without him. Qin Wei already looked worn out, and her crying now made her appear even more disheveled. During the rush hour, passers-by all avoided us. I was extremely irritated, but the light hadn't turned green yet, so I had to continue enduring. Qin Wei then grabbed my laptop bag. Miss Jiang, since you're not interested in Shenzhou, you should make things clear with him. There were important things in my computer bag, and I instinctively moved back, but then, as if she suddenly discovered my weakness, Jiang Yang, you'll never be able to get rid of me. Her tone was all too familiar. I could almost see the smug smile at the corner of her mouth. She yanked hard on my laptop bag, and just as I pulled back, she let go and abruptly stepped back. Then came the loud screech of brakes. I had forgotten, Qin Wei was a gambler. In my past life, she gambled on Shenzhou believing her, letting a lie stand between me and Shenzhou for a whole 10 years, this lifetime. She was prepared to gamble with her own life, betting on Shenzhou's conscience. Shenzhou has always had a conscience. Towards her, he has a conscience, but this time, his calculated plan might not go as she wishes. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I stood in front of Qin Wei's hospital bed. I shouldn't have argued with her on the roadside, shouldn't have held on when she tried to grab my computer. Oh, she wasn't trying to steal the computer. She was just emotional and grabbed my hand while talking. Xiaolin bumped me with his elbow. Dissatisfied, Qin Wei was hit by a vehicle. Luckily, it was near a red light, and since we were not on the main road when we struggled, the vehicle had slowed down. The car braked in time, only breaking one of Qin Wei's ribs and a leg. The surveillance footage wasn't clear, only showing that she had a conflict with me, making it hard to tell who was right or wrong. Xiaolin, who was across the street at that time, saw everything clearly, so he was dissatisfied with my apology. He doesn't understand. In front of Shenzhou, an explanation is just making excuses. He only ever believes what he wants to believe. 10 years have been enough for me to learn my lesson. Sure enough, as soon as I voiced my apology, Qin Wei's tearful expression stiffened. and Shinjo stopped what he was about to say. Miss Chin was injured because of me. Let me stay and take care of her with you during these days. I turned to look at Shinjo. As we left, Xiaolin became even more discontent. Have you been called Jiangbao too many times, and your brain turned into a sauce bun? She timed her fall perfectly. What does it have to do with you? She clearly wants to cling to Mr. Shen. Why don't you just let them be? Lock it down and be done. I glanced at my wrist, which Qinwei had just reddened by pulling. Do you remember the last time we played a game and encountered an annoying ghost, always sticking to us, beat us up, ran away, and just when it mattered, popped out again to hit us? How did you say to deal with such people back then? Xiaolin, use the ultimate move, finish them off. I nodded, use the ultimate move, finish them off. I am very competent, working from 8 to 5. More punctual than a job. I finally understood the pleasure Qinwei felt when she did those things. It turns out making someone you dislike unhappy can be so satisfying. Ah Zhou, my leg hurts so much. Shinjo was about to get up. I held him back. She's crying from the pain. Should we call a doctor? Shinjo nodded, calling for the doctor. Ah Zhou, I'm so thirsty. Shinjo got up. I held him back. The nurse is attentive. Let her go. Ah Zhou, it's so boring lying here. Could you read to me? I got up. I'll do it. After several times, Shinjo also realized I was doing it on purpose. He even seemed somewhat happy. Yang, I've always said I would explain things to you. I've already broken up with Qinwei. After she's discharged, I will give her a sum of compensation, and then we will be even. Sometimes, when it was just the two of us in the hospital room, he looked at me with eyes brimming with joy. Then we can go home together. Do you want to live in Lawn Mountain or Ping Courtyard? I've also thought about the wedding. This time I looked up. How much compensation do you plan to give her? 1 million. After all, it was our fault. The doctor said her leg. 1 million. I tugged at the corner of my lips. That's good. Sometimes Xiaolin would also come over, under the guise of work. He didn't speak, just buried his head and texted me. This filial piety between mother and son, what are you scheming? I replied. It's always calm before the storm. 24. Actually, it wasn't a big move. As the day of discharge approached, Qinwei became more anxious. I knew her original plan, except for Xiaolin, whom I had seen with my own eyes. No one would believe that someone could joke with their own life, so, like in my previous life, I became her scapegoat, and like before, Shinjo and I would argue because of her. The difference was, she wouldn't leave. She took advantage of Shinjo's old feelings and guilt. Feeling entitled to demand from him, perhaps she even hoped to sustain some disability, giving Shinjo more reason to feel guilty towards her for life. But I was not angry. Before Shinjo could even speak up, I took the initiative to apologize. I didn't argue with Shinjo either. Even in her presence, I was all smiles, warming up the feelings between us. She became insecure. She worried that she would be abandoned once she was discharged. I really wanted to comfort her. After all, there was still 10 million. Shinjo truly loved her. Of course, whether she could get it depended on her own skills. 3 days before Qinwei's discharge, Shinjo, all smiles, began discussing the color of the curtains at home with me. Shinjo, I won't go back with you. I put down my breakfast calmly and looked at him. I won't marry you again, won't love you again. I don't even want to see you again. Do you know why? Shinjo followed me back to the room, seemingly in a daze. I called him again, Brother Shen. Indeed, I used to call him that when I was a child. During these days, I called him that in front of Qinwei too, a nickname more nauseating to her than her Ah Zhou. Your aunt called and said there's been a thief in your neighborhood. Let's go check your apartment. Upon hearing let's go back, Shinjo's eyes lit up. But how could Qinwei agree? She hadn't been discharged yet. Shinjo hadn't mentioned any compensation to her. If I took Shinjo away, she might end up losing everything. Brother Shen, shall we go? I tilted my head to look at Shinjo. If we don't leave today, we'll never go back. Shinjo came over to hold me. Actually, we don't need to go back. Ah Zhou, your apartment has surveillance. Qinwei hurriedly sat up, shouting for the nurse to bring her computer. Ah Zhou, I forgot to tell you before, I was worried about thieves in the apartment, so I had already installed surveillance. You can see what it looks like now just by turning on the computer. I watched as Shinjo's face turned pale by degrees, staring at Qinwei. His eyes shot disbelief. You said, who installed the surveillance? Qinwei was completely oblivious. I had it installed last year. The video is connected to my computer. Let's watch it now. I then asked Xiaolin, who had specifically come for the spectacle. Mr. Xia, I suddenly can't remember. Are our game accounts, nicknames, and avatars unique? Xiaolin, of course not. Then it's easy to register another account with the same nickname and avatar. Of course, I remember it's the same for WeChat, correct? Alright, Xiaolin, we can leave now. See, it was just that simple, simple enough to be sad. 25. Shinzhou appeared before me again a week later. In those 7 days, it seemed like 7 years had passed for Shinzhou. He had become terribly thin, he looked disheveled. It was raining, he stood there with his head down. Soaked through by the rain, it seemed he hadn't expected me to come down so quickly. Surprise flickered in his eyes when he saw me, quickly replaced by a frantic sense of guilt. I'm sorry. A 10-year overdue apology finally came out of his mouth. I'm sorry, Yang. His body trembling, he hugged me, his hot tears falling onto my collar. I'm sorry, Yang. All these years, so many times, he choked up, unable to continue. It's all in the past, I said. No, it's my fault. It's all my fault, Yang. He held me tighter. Can you accept my apology, please? I shook my head. Shinzhou, it's too late. Shinzhou suddenly began to cry. But I love you, Yang. After you left, I realized how much I loved you. I continued shaking my head, pushing him away, and stepped back, looking up at him. Shinzhou, think about it. Was that really love? Shinzhou, things have always been too smooth for you. He could command the winds and the waves, always getting what he sought. Think about it. Do you love me? Or is it just because you can't have me? Shinzhou didn't hesitate. It's you. I truly loved you, Yang. I thought it through in my past life. It was, but I don't love you anymore. I looked at him. Shinzhou, I won't marry you again. I won't love you again. I even don't want to see you again. It's not a joke, not something said in anger. Are you still not going to believe what I say, like you did 10 years ago? Shinzhou staggered a step, his face turning ashen. Go back, you'll catch a cold, and your mother will worry. I withdrew my gaze, turned around. Before I walked out of the alley, I heard crying behind me. I didn't want to see Shinzhou so downcast. I would rather see the 23-year-old Shinzhou, the one I once deeply loved, the one with a sparkle in his eyes. But life always brings such helplessness. 10 years ago, I would have jumped for joy at his words, and probably spent the whole night sleepless. 10 years later, I just listened indifferently. I went back to my room, played a game, and then slept. Shinzhou fell ill nonetheless. The elders of the Shin family took turns calling me, saying he was delirious with fever, mumbling my name. Even my mom called to sigh. Weren't you the one who said that little Zhua had a girlfriend and you didn't want to make it hard on yourself? That's why we kept you in the dark about him being in the same city. Now what's all this fuss about? I heard he broke up with that girlfriend. Yang. Didn't you always love little Zhua the most? Maybe, Mom, it's all in the past. One of the biggest mistakes of my past life. The rift between Shinzhou and me was always hidden from my family. At first, there was hope, thinking there might be a chance for Shinzhou and me. Then my father fell ill. Shinzhou was always his proudest son-in-law, and I couldn't bring myself to tell him. It was only after witnessing the tragedy of parents burying their child did I understand. What son-in-law? What company would consider their precious daughter to be more important? So, from the very beginning of this life, I have been open and honest about my thoughts. Sure enough, both my mom and dad supported me. They just wanted me to be happy. Shinzhou had been sick for over a month, and his mother begged me to talk to him. Throughout those 10 years, his parents treated me very well, so I didn't refuse. Shinzhou was crying softly on the other side of the phone. Shinzhou, I said gently, don't dwell on it too much. I was also at fault for the way things ended in our past life. The mistake was not loving myself before loving someone else. The mistake was repeatedly ignoring the lifebuoys around me. The mistake was giving up the whole world for one man, underneath an avalanche. No snowflake is innocent. A ridiculous lie crafted a decade of tragedy, and I cannot escape blame, but I can correct my mistakes. After Shinzhou recovered, he sued Qin Wei. He had always firmly believed that his change of heart had wronged Qin Wei. Before they broke up, he gave her a substantial amount of material compensation. Now, he seems to have changed his mind about that, wanting to take all those things back. I didn't pay much attention to this. Our first game has launched. It's been receiving continuous positive reviews, and revenues have been climbing steadily. Every day, I wake up to check the data and go to sleep thinking about new games. Occasionally, seeing someone playing our game on the subway can make me happy for a long time. It shows that there are many joys in life, not just those brought by love. when our second game launched. It shot to the top of the download charts on its first day. The overwhelming sense of achievement filled me completely, making the whole world seem wonderful. I've settled down in Beijing and even moved my parents here. My life has been drifting further and further from its original path. Shenzhou didn't disappear from my world immediately. He came looking for me for a while. He didn't talk to me. He just followed me to and from work. It seems he has finished his lawsuit with Qin Wei. Xiaoyu told me that Qin Wei didn't get much money. And her leg was indeed disabled from the last car accident. She asked the court for compensation, but it was denied. But having finished entangling with Qin Wei and then starting to bother me wasn't pleasant. Most of the time, I ignored him. The road isn't owned by my family. He can walk it however he likes. Occasionally annoyed, I would turn around and scold him. Shenzhou, did you come back just to follow me like this? He actually responded directly, yes. After that, I didn't want to talk to him anymore. The last time I saw him, it was another rainy day. The rain in the late autumn was like fine needles of ice. I didn't want him to get sick and have his mother calling me repeatedly, so I bought him an umbrella. He leaned at the entrance of an alley and suddenly asked me, Yang, after everything I've done to you in the past, do you also think I'm cruel, now saying I like you? Does that disgust you? I ruined your happiness, in an instant. I felt like I was back to that year, our wedding night. It was also at this age, in such an autumn, amidst the festive joy. He scolded me with a cold face. Yang, your cruelty is chilling, your affection disgusts me, you so wanted to be with me. I'll grant you that, you ruined my happiness, and you will never find happiness in this lifetime. Yes, I looked up, the fine rain falling into my pupils. Shenzhou, your cruelty is chilling, your affection disgusts me. You ruined my happiness, for this lifetime. I paused, looking into his eyes. Shenzhou, I hope you find happiness. He trembled violently, his whole back hunched, bending at the waist. After that, I never saw him again. Another year quickly passed. I remember in my past life, during this year, Qin Wei gloriously went abroad to marry and flaunted her achievements in front of me before leaving. Guess who I just saw? She looked so haggard I almost didn't recognize her. It was only when I saw her limping that I was sure. It really was Qin Wei. She's actually fallen to the point of serving dishes in a small restaurant. What are you looking at? I turned off Xiaoyu's message and put away my phone. Nothing. You haven't secretly started a new romance, have you? Xia Lin propped up his cheek in an exaggerated manner. Little dumpling, the weather is so nice today. Why don't we take our online romance offline? I looked at him helplessly. Xia Lin. Xia Lin raised both hands. Alright, I get it. Men are not as enticing as money. Let's go. He pressed the gas pedal. Little CEO Xia will first aim for a cool 100 billion. I couldn't help but laugh. It was the height of spring. The sunlight was just perfect. Life is a series of multiple choice questions. This time, I won't make the wrong choice. Shenzhou side story. 1. When I received the call from the police, I was momentarily deafened. A sharp ringing in my ears nearly pierced my brain. And by the time I regained my senses, the person on the other end was shouting, Mr. Shen, are you alright? Please calm yourself before coming to identify your wife's body. 2. Jiangyang is dead, because on a snowy day, I asked her to come and discuss our divorce in person. Qin Wei always comforted me, saying, it's not your fault, she didn't drive well, how can you blame yourself? But I knew it was my fault. 3. Jiangyang and I weren't always like this. Ever since we were young, she was obedient and gentle, liking to quietly stay by my side. Big brother Shen, can you make me a little rabbit? Big brother Shen, can you explain this problem to me? Big brother Shen, can you wait and walk home from school with me? We were very close. My phone was full of her photos, and every time I saw the character Yang in a book, I would subconsciously circle it. It felt so familiar and dear. So much so that when I first met Qin Wei and she told me her nickname was Yang, I felt an affinity. 4. I met Qin Wei in college. When she was surrounded by a group of thugs, I stepped in to save her. After that, she often appeared around me, quiet, much like Yang used to be. She had seen Yang on my phone. She's so beautiful. Is she your girlfriend? I naturally replied, no, she's my sister. 5. I always thought of Yang as only a sister. Whenever my family talked about marrying her, I felt annoyed. Who marries their own sister? Having a life arranged for you breeds rebellion. So when Qin Wei cried and told me that my mother had asked her to leave, I held her and said, I will marry you. I only want to marry you. 6. When did things start to change? Perhaps even I don't know. when Qin Wei showed me those chat logs, was my rage only because she wanted me to break up with Qin Wei, not because she said, what does it matter if I ruin him, if I can't have him, no one can. I went through with the wedding just because I was angry, determined to torment her for life, not because, deep down, I wasn't averse to her being my wife. I realized these things actually after Qin Wei left and went back to her country. I accidentally overheard her on the phone crying to a friend. I knew it, he didn't like me that much, he didn't even touch me. Do you know, he never touched me even when we were dating. He really liked Jiang Yang, otherwise, who these days marries just because they spent a night together. 7. It was a call from Jiang Yang, 3 days before she wanted to divorce me. By then, I already felt something was off. Over the years, Jiang Yang and I constantly argued, initially about her dishonorable actions, which she refused to admit doing. But I had seen the chat logs. The video angle was from the apartment's surveillance. The only people who knew the apartment's password were me, her, and Qin Wei. In the 3rd year of our marriage, one day, she suddenly asked me, why don't you suspect that Qin Wei did this? I found it amusing. She did this. Why, what good does it do? Qin Wei broke up with me only because she was threatened by her. After the breakup, she became depressed and attempted suicide several times. She had no motive to do that. After that incident, Jiang Yang never mentioned it again. Later, we argued over trivial matters. Qin Wei did not marry well. She often called me from overseas, crying about her life. If it weren't for Jiang Yang's actions back then, Qin Wei wouldn't have ended up like this. Every time I think about it, I can't have a proper conversation with Jiang Yang. Why did the girl, who was as obedient as a rabbit at first, have a different face behind her back? Before Qin Wei returned, Jiang Yang and I were still arguing, because I found her birth control pills. She didn't care about my future or my feelings. She even refused to have children with me. What was recorded in those diaries was not love but an obsessive possessiveness. After years of arguing, Qin Wei finally came back. I thought I would be happy, but after being together with Qin Wei, just like she said, I didn't even want to touch her. Could I have always liked Jiang Yang? I think of the reassurance I felt when I woke up at night and held her in my arms. I think of the comfort I felt every time I came home and saw her quietly in the house. I think of the face that frequently appeared in my mind when I was with Qin Wei. Turns out, I've always liked Jiang Yang, but Jiang Yang wants to divorce me. Her tone was so calm, convinced that I would agree. Come here, let's talk face to face. I could not agree to divorce her. She sighed. I have no other demands. I just want my parents' company, which belongs to you. I won't take anything else. To leave me. She didn't even fight for the family property. In a rage, I said, after today, no more discussion. Just with that statement, Jiang Yang died on a snowy road. Impossible. I couldn't possibly like Jiang Yang. If I liked Jiang Yang, how could I have been cold to her for a whole decade? If I liked Jiang Yang, how could I have been responsible for her death? The one I liked was clearly Qin Wei. The whole world knew I loved Qin Wei. For Qin Wei, I defied my family, neglected my wife, and remained childless for many years. I pretended as if nothing was wrong. I didn't even attend Jiang Yang's funeral. I continued to be inseparable with Qin Wei, proposed to her, and prepared a grand wedding. I loved Qin Wei, but when Qin Wei smiled at me in her wedding dress, I joyfully embraced her. Yang Yang, you're back. On the eve of the wedding, I broke down. Jiang Yang's shadow was everywhere. We grew up together. Apart from the few years in college, I had never been separated from her for more than 3 days. I remember every expression of hers at every age. I think back to every harsh word I said to her over those 10 years. Why was I so harsh on her? It was just a video and a few harsh words. She was 2 years younger than me. Why couldn't I let go of one mistake for 10 years, the cruel one? It was clearly me. I wandered through the city like a walking corpse. Guilt and regret poisoned me. Gnawing at my flesh day and night, Qin Wei came to me crying again. She said, aren't you going to marry me? Everyone knows I'm going to marry you. Aren't you going to marry me? You said it yourself. You said you love me, that you were going to marry me. All I could do was apologize to her. If there's a next life, I'll repay everything I owe you. If only there really was a next life, I would give 3 lifetimes for a chance to start over. I don't know how much time passed, but it snowed again. I lay on the cold tracks, watching the snow fall like goose feathers as the train rushed towards me. It was just as cold the day Jiang Yang died. If I could do it all over again, I would truly love Jiang Yang. If I could do it all over again, I would make up for all the regrets. Back then, I didn't know that later, I would indeed get a chance to start over. yet it was just a one-time, even more misguided beginning. Story 2. In my previous life, I resorted to underhanded tactics to coerce Lu Kongwen into taking responsibility for me and marrying me. I seduced him with my charms to the point where he was utterly infatuated and couldn't resist my body, which prevented him from seeking out his childhood sweetheart time and again. Unfortunately, back then I didn't understand that those who manipulate with seduction often see their affection and grace fade away. A forced marriage call from the childhood sweetheart made him abandon me on a deserted island thousands of miles away without a second thought. That night, a tsunami ravaged the island, and I was forever buried beneath the sea. Reborn, I find myself straddling his abs. Fortunately, I haven't made any grave mistakes yet. I'm sorry, I slept with the wrong person. I'll leave immediately, I blurted out. Lu Tsongwen's eyes shattered with emotion, his voice trembling and hoarse. Ji Yunru, other than me, who else do you want to sleep with? His grip on my slender ankles left faint red marks, trapping my fleeing body. Lu Kongwen, let me go, I demanded, ignoring my pleas. He forcefully dragged me back beneath him. Ji Yunru, wasn't it you who drugged me? What's this? Playing hard to get now. His expression was dark, his lips tightly pursed, the tense line of his jaw and the bulging veins on his neck were filled with intense energy, as if he could shatter me in the next second. It hurts, I murmured softly, tears of pain following. Lu Kongwen eased his actions but still showed no intention of letting me go. His rough fingertips gently massaged the corner of my eye, his gaze dim, his voice slightly hoarse, dressed so provocatively. Isn't it to seduce me? Having been his lover for 7 years in my previous life, I knew well that his tense body was on the brink of succumbing to his desires, ready to devour me completely. Then, we would be unexpectedly discovered by a high school classmate, forcing Lu Kongwen to get engaged to me. After that, to win his heart, I had no choice but to use my looks and figure as bait, constantly trying to captivate him. Yet, he always remained indifferent, delaying our marriage, thinking of my previous life. The suffocating sensation of the cold seawater filling my throat made me shiver, a chill running down my spine. The love-struck fool I was in my previous life had been killed by the seawater. I would not make the same mistakes again. I tried to push him away with both hands, urgently explaining, I'm sorry, Lu Kongwen, I slept with the wrong person, let go of me, and I'll leave immediately. Hearing my words, Lu Tsongwen's eyes flickered, but he quickly regained his composure. He lowered his body, his hot breath on my lips, a hint of mockery in his voice. Ji Yunru, other than me, who else do you want to sleep with? I was at a loss for words. Lu Tsongwen's relentless pursuit since our high school days was well known throughout the school and had become a widely known joke among our classmates. Under such circumstances, who else could I possibly sleep with? I was racking my brain to come up with a name when the door was knocked. A gentle, cool voice came through. Kongwen, are you in there? It was Ji Yunue, my half-sister and also Lu Tsongwen's childhood sweetheart. He was the one she couldn't stop thinking about, her unattainable moonlight. In a previous life, after getting engaged to me, Lu Kongwen remained entangled with Ji Yunue. Whenever Ji Yunue called him in the dead of night, frightened by thunder, Lu Kongwen would drive for hours just to be by her side, blinded by my love for him. I resorted to the foolish tactic of seductively clinging to him, begging for his affection each time he reached for his car keys. This approach worked, until our honeymoon when Ji Yunue claimed that her family was forcing her into an unwanted marriage and she decided to resist even if it meant death. Ultimately, Lu Kongwen left me behind. Kongwen, are you in the room? The class monitor went to get the room card and will be back soon. Unlike my naturally seductive demeanor, Ji Yunue always resembled the cool, distant moon among clouds, her personality and voice carrying a fragile chill, the kind that evokes a protective instinct in men. In moments of passion, Lu Kongwen would whisper in my ear, Ruru, your beauty stirs up a desire in me to dominate, to see you in pain and tears. Lu Tsongwen's friend once said, Ji Yunue is the kind of respectable girl one marries, but Ji Yunru is only good for a fling, not for marriage. Previously, due to Ji Yunue's indifferent demeanor towards everything, including Lu Kongwen, I failed to notice the connection and affection between them. I intervened. I broke up the lovers, and it cost me my life. In this life, let everything go back to its original path. Lu Tsongwen's body grew hotter, his gaze more intense, and his lips fervently met my collarbone, like a scorching rain. Lu Kongwen, come to your senses. I'm not Ji Yunue, let me go. He seemed irritated, unwilling to listen, and fiercely bit my lip, silencing my protests. In despair, I kicked him hard. Part 2, Ji Yunru, if you dare leave, I'll kill you. Lu Kongwen, bent over in pain, roared from behind. I paused, then leapt out the window. Staying meant death. I found the class monitor and had her deliver the room card to Ji Yunue before leaving, creating a chance for them to be alone. If Ji Yunue couldn't push Lu Kongwen away, they'd end up together by the end of the night. Then my father would ensure justice for Ji Yunue, making Lu Kongwen marry her. Perhaps then, Lu Kongwen would be grateful, and I might escape the control of the Ji family. Having arranged all this, I leisurely returned to the graduation party. Today was the first day to check university entrance exam results. In a past life, both Lu Kongwen and Ji Yunue were top students who got into the prestigious capital university together. To be with Lu Kongwen, I studied tirelessly, significantly boosting my academic scores, plus a bonus for my dance skills, just enough to join the dance program at Capital University. Lu Kongwen and I got engaged over the summer and his family bought us a house near the university. I devoted myself to creating a tender home life for Lu Kongwen, neglecting my own studies. Ji Yunue, maintaining her cool, top student persona, remained the perpetual beloved ache in Lu Tsungwen's heart. I returned to the party room, and as I sat down, the teacher raised a glass to me. Ji Yunru, congratulations on finally making it to the same university as Lu Kongwen. You're a brave girl in my eyes, daring to do anything for the boy you love. But as someone who's been through it all, I must tell you to chase love bravely, but don't forget to enrich yourself and always be a clear-headed, independent woman, the teacher advised. Holding my glass, my eyes suddenly welled up with tears. It's only after being reborn that I realized how profound my teacher's words were. It's a pity that in my past life, I never had the chance to hear them. Even if I had, I wouldn't have grasped their deep meaning. Now that fate has given me a second chance, I am determined not to let my teacher down. Thank you, teacher, I will remember your words, I said. Before I could compose myself, the class president hurried into the room and whispered in my ear. I gave the keys to Ji Yunue and left, but Lu Kongwen has called an ambulance. I frowned in confusion. Is Lu Kongwen foolish? He's missing such a good opportunity. The class president, Xiao Xiao, a girl who loved gossip, immediately pulled me to eavesdrop next to Lu Tsungwen's room. Crash. It was the sound of a water glass shattering. It seemed that Lu Kongwen was beginning to lose control of himself. Then came Ji Yunue's soft, frail voice. Kongwen, I'm willing. Please stop torturing yourself. It hurts me to see you like this. Lu Kongwen struggled to speak. Yunue, stay away from me. Ji Yunue rushed to hug him. Why, Kongwen, I don't need you to take responsibility. I just can't bear to see you suffer. Lu Kongwen forcefully pushed her away. Yunue, please don't come any closer. I'm not in my right mind. I don't want to hurt you. I gave a bitter smile. So that was it. No wonder they say love is like a hand that reaches out only to pull back again. Because he didn't love me. In my past life, Lu Kongwen pressed me down without hesitation, ignoring my pleas and tormenting me over and over again, nearly leaving me with psychological scars. But with his beloved Ji Yunue, even though he was nearly fainting from the pain, he still desperately tried to stay conscious because he couldn't bear to touch her. Medical staff arrived and started heading this way. I took Xiao Xiao and turned to leave. I was sure now, I no longer loved Lu Kongwen, yet, seeing his attitude towards Ji Yunue felt like a stone was pressing on my chest. I couldn't breathe. This must be the melancholy of unrequited love. After that gathering, I didn't go out again. At the dinner table, my dad told my stepmom that Lu Kongwen, the only son of the Lu family, had been drugged and hospitalized. My stepmom was shocked. Who would dare to drug him? Don't they know about the Lu family's formidable power? My dad sighed deeply. Mr. Lu has ordered severe punishment for the person responsible, but young Master Lu refuses to say who it was. My stepmom said, well, why bother with all that? This is a perfect opportunity to get closer to the Lu family. Yunue, why don't you and your mom go visit Lu Kongwen at the hospital later? Aren't you his classmate? Try to find some common topics with him. See if you can develop a relationship with this heir of a wealthy family. My stepmom smiled cunningly. Ji Yunue obediently nodded. Dad then said, why don't you take Yunru with you too? With both going, the chances of success might be higher. My stepmom scoffed. Why bring her? Look at her, all dolled up. Do you think the Lu family elders would fancy such a vulgar vixen? My father bowed his head and said nothing, offering me no defense. I put down my chopsticks. I have errands to run today. I won't be going. I went to the immigration office to apply for a passport. When I returned, my stepmom was sitting on the couch, visibly upset, venting to my dad. Yunue and I carefully selected several gifts to take to the hospital to visit young Master Lu, but guess what happened? They told us that all visits were politely declined. I told the security guard at the door that we were from the Ji family of Haiqing, and that my daughter Yunue and Lu Kongwen were classmates. The guard said he would check inside. After a while, the guard came back out, asked for our names, and then went back inside to report. A bit later, he came out again and told us that the young master needed to rest now, we could leave the gifts. And he would personally come to thank us once he had recovered. Isn't this just leading us on? Said the stepmother, visibly upset and breathing heavily. Dad comforted her by rubbing her back. It's good that he accepted your gifts. I heard that recently everyone trying to visit young Master Lu was turned away, and not even their gifts were accepted. The fact that he accepted ours shows that Yunue still holds significant influence. Upon hearing this, the stepmother's face lit up with joy. Really, does Yunue really have that much clout? Does this mean there's hope for her to marry into the Lu family? There's hope, definitely. Didn't the young master say he would visit us personally in a few days? What does that tell you? It shows he's interested in Yunue, Dad said, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Yunue, your dad hasn't spoiled you for nothing. This is giving your old man a lot of pride. Once you marry into the Lu family, our status in Haiqing will rise even further. Sitting across on the sofa, Yunue blushed and shyly called out, Dad, oh, my daughter is shy. He chuckled. The family was filled with laughter and joy. Of course, this happiness had nothing to do with me. In my first year of high school, my mother died of cancer. Before the mourning period was even over, my father brought home Wu Qing, a woman from outside, along with her daughter Yunue, who was only 2 months younger than me. That's when I realized that for over a decade, while relying on my mother's family's influence to build his career, my father had been supporting a mistress on the side. With a stepmother came a stepfather. My father, once utterly devoted to me out of fear of my mother, had become entirely devoted to Yunue alone. He neglected me completely. All household responsibilities were handed over to Wu Qing, who pinched pennies on my living expenses and mocked me, with my father turning a blind eye. After Yunue transferred to my class, she and Lu Kongwen, who knew each other, became particularly close, which made me incredibly jealous. It turned out that the country villa where my father used to support Yunue and her mother was right next to Lu Tsungwen's grandmother's house. Every year when Lu Kongwen came down for vacation, he would play with Yunue. He was originally saddened by Yunue's departure. Unexpectedly, she transferred directly to our class and became his deskmate. Truly, fate can tie people together across thousands of miles, but without it, even those close by can be strangers. In my past life, I foolishly fell in love with a man who was not mine. I deserved my tragic end. Returning to my room, I sent out an email. Professor Steve, I am delighted to be your student. I have prepared my passport and will soon head to the UK. In my past life, all my life goals revolved around Lu Kongwen, causing me to abandon my own talents. The London Dance Academy noticed my dance videos online and recognized my award-winning history. You should be the one to make the final decision, extending an olive branch to me. But to attend Jingdai University with Lu Kongwen, I firmly declined the professor's invitation. This life, I have come to my senses. It was a world-renowned institution that many dancers dream of. In this lifetime, I must seize the opportunity to shine brightly on the dazzling stage. After sending the email, I took a bath, slipped into a silk camisole dress, and comfortably lay down on the bed. Feeling sleepy, the ringtone of my phone went off, and without looking to see who it was, I squinted and answered. After the call connected, the person on the other end didn't speak for a long time. Confused, I looked at the screen. Oh no, I had accidentally answered a video call. On the screen, Lu Tsungwen's gaze was obscure and unclear. Seeing me look up, he awkwardly turned his face away. I quickly adjusted my disheveled straps and pulled the blanket over my exposed shoulders. What do you need? I asked, feeling a bit guilty. I hadn't expected that the medicine would land him in the hospital. Was he going to settle scores with me? Ji Yunru, I've been lying in the hospital for 2 days, and you haven't come to see me. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but his tone seemed slightly aggrieved. I shook my head. I must have heard wrong. Such a proud man like him feeling aggrieved. Who do I think I am? Ji Yunue was stopped at the door by you. I would have faced the same rejection, so I didn't waste the cab fare. It's different with you. I told them to let you in if you came. Lu Tsungwen's voice carried a clumsy eagerness. Me, how am I different? Because you were the one who gave me the medicine, so I'll let you in to apologize to me face to face. Lu Kongwen said stiffly, I'm not foolish enough to go. Your dad would skin me alive. I sincerely apologize to you. Tell me what gift you want, and I'll send it to you, but I can't come in person. I'm going to hang up now. Wait a minute, Lu Kongwen stopped me from ending the call. You still plan to apply for Jingda, right? If you haven't changed your mind, I've filled out the application for you. You'll study at Jingda's dance department, and I'll study law. That reminded me of the day I left the exam hall. I had given Lu Kongwen my exam registration number and password. Lu Kongwen, if my scores are high enough for Jingda, can you fill it out for me? I pleaded behind him, hoping to gain his favor with a flattering face. He looked annoyed at the time, and fearing his refusal, I stuffed the note into his pocket and ran. I thought he had thrown away the note. To my surprise, he actually intended to help me with my application. No need, I said indifferently. Why? Lu Kongwen narrowed his eyes, his look full of danger. Ji Yenru, what do you mean? Don't you want to go to Jingda anymore? What was all your hard studying for? I was about to tell him that I wasn't going to Jingda, that I wanted to study further at the London Dance Academy, but then I thought it over and decided not to complicate things without my father's approval, so I hesitated and said, go ahead and fill it out, but don't submit it. I want to submit it myself. Okay, this is indeed a major milestone in your life. And it's right that you should make the final decision. You should confirm the submission yourself. It really means more, he said. Okay, then I'm hanging up. Wait, Lu Kongwen called out to me again. What else is there? Your sister and your mom came to visit me at the hospital today. I'll come by your house to visit in a few days. There's no need to update me about your plans. Goodbye. Chia Qiao called me, inviting me to her birthday party. She specifically mentioned, your crush will be there too. I heard he got a new hairstyle. Looks even more handsome. Who is my crush? Who else but Lu Kongwen? Are you saying Lu Kongwen is going too? I was quite surprised. Knowing Lu Kongwen, he's always been rather aloof. Apart from the last gathering organized by our homeroom teacher, he never took part in any class activities. Since our last phone call, I had not contacted him again, after being reborn. I value my life more and try to stay as far away from him as possible. Ciao ciao. I just remembered, I have an English class tomorrow and can't make it to your party. How about I drop off the gift at your house after class? Not good enough. Ji Yenru, you're about to go study in Jing City with Lu Kongwen. Who knows when you'll see each other again? Skip class and come to my party. I had no choice, as Chia Qiao was the only one who stood by me when the whole school laughed at me. She always said I was a girl with a clear heart, daring to chase what I liked, a courage many lacked. So, when classmates mocked me as a cheap follower, Chia Qiao would stand up and retort, when you have the courage like Ji Yenru, then you can mock others. Don't think I don't know. You all just secretly pine and don't dare to say a word in person. During my absurd high school years, she never left my side, thus, I couldn't miss her birthday. After my IELTS class, I rushed to the hotel. Chia Qiao's family is well known in Haicheng, so her birthday party was quite grand. I dressed simply in jeans and a white t-shirt, which felt somewhat underdressed. Lu Kongwen was sitting on the sofa, with Ji Yinue by his side. He had gotten a buzz cut. His handsome features now appeared more striking and robust. He was tenderly pouring juice into Ji Yunue's glass, a gentle aura enveloping him. Ji Yenru wore a pristine white dress, looking pure and graceful like a noble snow lotus. Truly a match of equal talents and beauty. Anyone would comment on their perfect pairing. When I looked over, Lu Kongwen just happened to look up and our eyes met. He raised an eyebrow slightly and lifted his chin, signaling me to come over. His demeanor was proud and relaxed. I pretended not to see and chose the farthest seat from him. His expression instantly darkened. His friend, taken aback, teased, no way. Ji Yenru usually can't wait to throw herself at young Master Lu. What's with her today? I calmly smiled. I was young and naive before. Recently I had an epiphany. Decided not to bother young Master Lu anymore. That's impossible. I'd believe the sun rose from the west sooner than believe Ji Yenru doesn't like Lu Kongwen. You've been after Lu since freshman year. Everyone knows. What happened? Ji Yenru, nothing happened. A youthful crush can come suddenly and go just as quickly. Isn't that normal? I said lightly. Really, everyone was shocked by my unusual response today. Looking puzzled at each other and at me, looking at Lu Kongwen again, his lips were tightly pursed, his tongue lightly pressing against his cheek, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Ji Yenru, being liked by you is truly bothersome. I don't even like the snacks you send me, and I've carelessly thrown away the little gifts you left on my desk. It's also a headache always having to explain things to you. It's simply a waste of my time. I used to worry that if I rejected you too often, you might take it badly. Now that you've figured it out on your own, it's good. It shows you still have some self-respect." Though he spoke matter-of-factly, his tone was unmistakably scornful and relieved, as if he had shed a heavy burden. Ji Yinue tugged at his arm, chiding in a moderate tone, "Kongwen, no matter what. Yenru is a girl. Why do you always talk to her this way?" Her demeanor and tone made everyone perceive a close relationship between her and Lu Kongwen. Pitying glances were cast in my direction. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my skin, yet I felt no pain, only an indescribable awkwardness. Seeing my distress, Xiao Qiao immediately became furious. She was dressed in a fluffy princess dress today, originally aiming for a soft and cute look, but now she stood with hands on her hips, fiercely berating without mercy. "Lu Kongwen, when Ji Yanru liked you, you never showed her a welcoming face. Now that she doesn't like you, you speak with such sarcasm. What is this? Just because you don't like her, everything she does is wrong. Today I invited you thinking that Ji Yanru still liked you, but now that she has come to her senses and cut her losses, you are no longer welcome at my birthday party." Lu Kongwen, always a proud loner, naturally would not stay a minute longer upon being dismissed by Xiao Qiao. He stood up and walked out. Ji Yinue hurriedly followed him, saying, "Kongwen, wait for me." Xiao Qiao turned back and hugged me. "Sweetie, I didn't arrange things well today. Let's not fall for such a cold-hearted man. Later, I'll introduce you to my cousin. He's handsome, studied abroad, and now manages our family's big company. He's definitely no worse than Lu Kongwen." As Lu Kongwen was walking by us, he paused upon hearing Xiao Qiao's words. A shadow crossed his eyes, and he gave me a complex look before sitting back down. "I haven't eaten the birthday cake yet. I'll leave after having some." Everyone, "Fine, then I'll cut the cake now and get this over with," Xiao Qiao declared. A three-tier rainbow cake tower was wheeled in, and Xiao Qiao insisted that I join her in cutting it. Just as I leaned forward to cut the cake, Ji Yinue, who had just risen from her seat and hadn't yet settled back, suddenly lost her balance. She bumped into me, causing me to smash into the cake tower. Instantly, a messy blob of cream smeared across my white t-shirt, embarrassingly right across my chest. "I'm sorry, Yenru, it wasn't intentional," Ji Yinue said nervously, trying to help me wipe it off. But the more she wiped, the larger the smeared area grew. Many of the boys stared openly. I felt so embarrassed I wished the ground would swallow me up. Xiao Qiao quickly shielded me. "It's okay. My sister just gave me a skirt for my birthday, you can change into that." Though it was Xiao Qiao's birthday present, there seemed no other option at the moment. I reluctantly went into the restroom inside the private room to change. I stepped out awkwardly, and everyone in the private room looked at me quietly, their stares peculiar, tugging at my skirt, barely covering my bottom. I turned to Jojo pleadingly. "Jojo, isn't this skirt a bit too short?" Jojo's gaze was vacant for a moment. Glancing from my chest to my legs, swallowing hard, she clicked her tongue. "Damn, Ji Yanru, your figure is simply explosive. My cousin is so lucky to have you. Those legs, that waist, and," she pointed at my chest, "combined with that face of yours, you're absolutely a stunner." Even I'm getting a reaction here. The guy sitting next to Lu Kongwen asked in a somewhat raspy voice, "Lu Xiao, are you sure you don't like Ji Yanru? If that's the case, may I pursue her?" Lu Kongwen picked up his glass, took a sip, and said coldly, "Go ahead if you want. I don't like her, thanks, bro." The guy stepped forward, introducing himself. "Ji Yanru, I'm Chen Chen. I might not match up to Lu Xiao, but I really like you. How about we give it a try?" Jojo quickly shielded me in her arms. "Give what a try? Ji Yanru is going to be my cousin-in-law, so none of you guys should even think about it." The guy looked at me deeply, then hesitantly sat back down. Wearing this revealing outfit, I said to Jojo, "I'm going to head back now." Just as Jojo nodded, a deeply affectionate confession suddenly blared from the big screen, unmistakably in my voice. "Lu Kongwen, I like you. I really, really like you. Our college entrance exam results are out, right? I don't know if I managed to get into Beijing University with you, but even if I don't, I'll go to Beijing City with you. Lu Kongwen, in this lifetime, Ji Yanru will only love you, only marry you. Wherever you go, I will follow." I was mortified. Social suicide. This video was indeed from me. It was my undying, foolish confession to Lu Kongwen. but it was recorded before I was reborn. I knew JoJo would throw a birthday party and invite classmates, so I had given her this video in advance, showing my infatuation, to play during her party, after being reborn. I got so caught up with preparing to go abroad that I completely forgot about it. JoJo slapped the back of her head. Shoot. I forgot to remove this segment. I specifically instructed the staff to play my sister's video after the cake cutting. What do we do now? Classmates exchanged various mocking looks. Didn't she just say she didn't like him? What's this act now? Acting all aloof before, was it just playing hard to get? Is this a surprise for Lu Xiao? Lu Tsongwen's expression, cold all evening, softened slightly. Ji Yunru, is this a surprise you prepared for me? Actually, accepting your feelings. It's not entirely impossible. His ears tinged with a faint red. I frantically explained, Lu Kongwen, please don't misunderstand. This video was recorded a long time ago. I gave it to JoJo way back and forgot to have it removed. I really don't like you anymore. Really don't like me anymore? Lu Kongwen asked sternly, his fierce gaze locked on my face. Really, truly? I raised my right hand, swearing. Lu Kongwen scoffed, Ji Yunru, one moment you like. The next you don't. Are you playing with me? That night ended with Lu Kongwen driving me home. Because the red miniskirt revealed much of my back, he insisted on draping his jacket over me as we got into the car. All the way, no matter how much I explained, Lu Kongwen wore a look that said, let's see how you play this out. To prove I truly no longer liked him, I blocked his phone number and WeChat right in front of him. He left with his face turning blue from anger. After that, I never contacted him again, nor did I make any effort to be seen by him. Every day, I busied myself with English lessons and part-time jobs, spinning like a top. I recently pawned the jewelry my mother left me, so the first year's tuition should be manageable, but I'm not sure what to do about the tuition for the following years, so after class, I always go to work at a bubble tea shop. That evening, as I dragged my exhausted body home, my stepmother Wu Qing stopped me in the living room. Ji Yunru, a few days ago I showed your photo to President Wang of Wang Corporation, and he's quite interested in you. Meet him tomorrow. He could be very important for your father's business in the future. See if you can charm him with that bewitching face of yours. It would be a way of repaying this family. People can't just eat and drink for free without contributing anything, right? I turned to look at my father. My father, hesitating, asked Wu Qing, isn't President Wang quite a bit older than Yunru? Over 20 years older. In fact, isn't that a bit much? So what if he's older? Older men know how to cherish others. You and I are the same age, yet when I was young and chose you, you hid me away in the countryside, living like a mouse. Have you ever considered the suffering I endured? My father lowered his head upon hearing her rebuke. Wu Qing softened her tone a bit and said earnestly to me, Yunru, since I've taken on the role of your mother, I must look out for your happiness. President Wang might be a bit old and chubby, but he's a caring man. With him, you can look forward to a life of comfort. I looked at her coldly. If he's such a great man, why don't you introduce him to Ji Yunue? Wu Qing's face turned cold. Is that kind of man worthy of our Yunue? Yunue is beautiful, smart, and has a great temperament. Only a man like young Master Lu is suitable for her. Don't overreach. Compared to Yunue, do you think you even come close? My father kept his head down and remained silent. I knew then that the matter was settled and that resisting was futile. Wu Qing hated my mother and despised me. From the day I stepped into this house, she had been instigating my father to make me drop out of school. Ji Yunru isn't good at studying. And all she has is her looks. If we don't make use of it now, do we wait until she's old and faded? Over the years, she arranged for me to meet various sleazy middle-aged men, trying every way to squeeze out all the value I could offer. Worried about my future and desperate to escape this family, I took the risk of drugging Lu Kongwen, hoping against hope to marry him, but I never expected that in my previous life, I would still end up tragically. I had just come of age. And facing the manipulative web of adult interests, I felt utterly powerless. I sighed, give me 100,000 yuan, and I'll meet with this President Wang tomorrow. Wu Qing, her face freshly treated with thermage, displayed a deep sarcasm. So you were waiting for me to say that? Fine, I'll give you the money. Whatever President Wang wants you to do tomorrow, you do it. As I went upstairs, I glanced back unintentionally. Ji Yunue, who had been silent on the sofa, had a slight mocking smile on her lips. Seeing me look her way, she quickly managed her expression, returning to her usual aloof demeanor. President Wang was less than 1.6 meters tall, nearly 200 kilograms in weight, with a belly like he was 10 months pregnant. From the moment I sat at the table, he stared greedily at every inch of me, his gaze undisguised. He even took the opportunity to pour me a drink to touch my hand, very smooth, like a slippery little eel. He laughed lewdly. I suppressed my disgust, comforting myself. It's alright, Ji Yenru, you'll be leaving here soon, and now you have an extra 100,000 yuan for security. Eventually, as President Wang led me upstairs in a daze, Jojo burst in shouting, so this is where you were, Ji Yenru, you promised to go shopping with me and stood me up for a date. Let's see how I deal with you. She forcefully grabbed my arm and dragged me out. President Wang refused to let go. Miss, how could you just take her away like that? I was not finished talking with Miss Yunro. Jojo, sorry, uncle, I still have unfinished business with my sister. We need to leave. As she spoke, she dragged me into the car. In the car, I lay fearfully on Jojo's lap, my palms drenched in cold sweat. Jojo, if you had been even a moment later, you wouldn't have seen me again. Jojo gently patted my back, her tone filled with concern. Yunro, your stepmother is too cruel. How could she force you into the arms of such a man? Why doesn't she use her own daughter for such deals? My body shivered as I bitterly closed my eyes. Jojo held me tighter. Yunro, leave that home, I'll take care of you. I wrapped my arms around her waist, feeling a warm surge in my heart. Having Jojo as a confidant in my troubled life is a blessing I no longer regret, but Jojo's father has several illegitimate children, and she herself isn't happy. How could I possibly burden her more? I nestled closer in her embrace. Jojo, it's okay, I just need to hang on a few more days. As soon as I find the right moment, I'll leave that house for good. What about Ji Yunyu? No matter what, she's your sister. Can she really just stand by and watch her mom do evil without intervening? I recalled Ji Yunyu's mocking smile from last night, which sent a chill through my heart. We're sisters without affection, and there's no reason to morally obligate her. You are too kind. Always thinking of others, Jojo said, poking my forehead in frustration before holding me even tighter. After getting out of the car, Jojo initially wanted to come in with me and confront my stepmother, but I didn't want her to get involved in the messy affairs of my family, so I firmly sent her away. Before I even entered the living room, I heard Wu Qing's cheerful laughter, peppered with ingratiating words. Were there guests at home? As I entered, I locked eyes with Lu Tsongwen, who sat prominently in the living room. His handsome face first registered surprise, then displeasure at seeing me in the seductive cheongsam. The cheongsam, a gift from Wu Qing, clung tightly to my figure, accentuating my curves in a way that seemed to beckon invitingly to men. Though Wu Qing had given me the dress, her face now looked displeased. Lu Xiao is our guest, and you're dressed like that. Go upstairs and change. How could you wear this? It's indecent. Ignoring Lu Tsongwen, I went straight upstairs. After changing, I lay on my bed, lost in thought, and chose not to go downstairs again. I knew Wu Qing didn't want me there, and there was no point in seeking discomfort. After drinking some alcohol, I was almost asleep when a knock at my door woke me. Lu Tsongwen's cold voice came through. Ji Yunro, open the door. Confused, I opened the door and looked up at the tall man before me. Undoubtedly, he was blessed with perfect looks, a top-tier family background and intelligence to match. My past infatuation with him wasn't without reason. What do you need? Lu Tsongwen's eyes softened, a tenderness in his voice I had never heard before. I thought your bedroom was the sunny one on the second floor, not realizing it was in the attic. It used to be on the second floor, but after Wu Qing and Ji Yunyu moved in, my bedroom was given to Ji Yunyu. Did you go on a blind date today? How was it? Did you like the person? He tried to appear natural, but the tense line of his neck betrayed his current nerves. It wasn't a blind date, I said. My family wants to give me away to a man 22 years my senior in exchange for a business license. Pity was undisguised in his eyes. I'm sorry, Yenru, I didn't realize things were so tough for you at home. I'll talk to Uncle G later and try to lean our family resources towards him so he won't have to degrade himself by selling his daughter for honor. It's okay, I'm used to it. In my past life, my situation wasn't any better, but as my husband, Lu Kongwen was completely oblivious to my suffering because he didn't like me, he didn't care about me. His indifference even led Wu Qing to mock and ridicule me every chance he got, turning me into a joke among the elite circles. So now, his pity, I don't crave it at all. Lu Kongwen cautiously watched my expression. May I come in and sit? It's not convenient, I replied coolly. Lu Tsongwen's gentle facade finally crumbled. He was never good at cajoling women. Ji Yunru, must you speak to me in that tone? What tone would you prefer? the infatuated one I used when I used to chase after you. Lu Tsungwen's chest heaved with anger, and it took him a long time to calm down. Finally giving up, forget it, I won't argue with you. I came to ask why you haven't submitted yet. The deadline for college applications is tomorrow. I've filled it out for you, just confirm it. It's not hard, I know. Let me review and modify it before submitting. What's there to modify? I've enrolled you in the dance department at Jing University, and the following choices are schools close to Jing University. You said even if you can't get into Jing University, you want to go to Jing City with me. You used to find me annoying, didn't you? That was before. And now, Lu Kongwen faltered, his neck flushing pink. Suddenly, I saw a flash of a white skirt at the end of the hallway. It was Ji Yunrui. Lu Kongwen struggled for a while, finally bowing his head in surrender. Ji Yunrui, I don't know what's wrong with me. I get anxious when I don't hear from you. Panicked at the thought you might not like me anymore. I want to see you. To keep you in front of my eyes and not let you run away. Although today I officially came to thank Ji Yunrui and her mother for visiting me in the hospital, in reality, I came to see you. His voice grew softer towards the end, his face grew redder, his beautiful eyes shimmered with a hopeful light, seemingly awaiting my response. The white skirt behind the wall swayed. I gestured for Lu Kongwen to come closer. Can you hug me? Upon hearing this, an ecstatic expression instantly appeared on Lu Tsungwen's forlorn face. Ruru, do you still like me? I knew it. I'm so glad I wasn't mistaken. With that, he bent slightly and pulled me into his embrace. He buried his chin in the nape of my neck, his tone addictive. Ruru, it's like I'm poisoned by you. I'm lost all day. I pretended to patiently pat his back. In my past life, I loved him to the point of madness. He was always lukewarm towards me, and I was constantly afraid of being rejected by him, so, every time he put on his suit and was about to leave, I would tiptoe to kiss his chin and rub against him playfully. Often, this would lead to him carrying me back upstairs, and he would skip going to the office. Back then, being held in his arms felt incredibly blissful, but now, lying in his arms, I feel an inexplicable irritation. I squirmed, trying to escape. Don't move, Ro. His voice carried an unnatural embarrassment. I then realized he was physically reacting. I dared not move carelessly anymore. Lu Kongwen was quiet for a while, but the urge didn't subside. He shifted his lips and kissed my neck. My body stiffened, and before I could push him away, he sought my lips again. Lu Kongwen, this isn't the right place. Let's go to the room, I suggested. Lu Kongwen, without ever loosening his grip on my waist, pushed me into the room and kicked the door shut. After Lu Kongwen left, I went downstairs for a drink. Wu Qing was proudly listing the precious gifts Lu Kongwen had brought over to my father. This makeup set must be worth tens of thousands, right? It's not even available in the domestic market yet, and this wild ginseng, I don't know how much it costs. I've never seen such a large one. Seeing me, she lifted her chin with arrogance and said, Yunro, come see the gifts your sister's boyfriend has brought. There are so many I can't even name them all. He must really adore our Yunyu. I smiled. Yes, Yunyu is really fortunate. It seems you are right. Everyone has their own fate. No matter how hard I try, I can't compare to even a finger of Ji Yunyu. Wu Qing smiled contentedly. At least you know your place. I went upstairs and knocked on Ji Yunyu's door. She was wearing a pure white dress, but her complexion was dull and lifeless. I smiled. Can we talk? Talk about what? Her tone was icy, lacking her usual carefree demeanor. You saw everything just now, I said with a smile. Ji Yunyu angrily turned her face away, refusing to look at me. Tell your mom to give me 5 million so I can go abroad. I won't compete with you for Lu Kongwen, I stated. On what grounds? You think your worthless life is worth 5 million? Her tone was more venomous than ever, whether it was my words that angered her, or if this was her true face showing. On what grounds? Because Lu Kongwen likes me now. I have a better figure and prettier face than you, and I can attend the same university as you. If I decide to seduce him, you'll never have a chance to be Mrs. Lu. Ji Yunyu looked at me with intense jealousy, but being clever, she eventually gave in. I'll talk to my mom. But how can you assure me that once you get the money, you will leave? I pulled up the acceptance letter from the London Dance Academy on my phone, because I have a better future and destiny. Looking around the room, which used to be cutesy but now was simply plain, I taunted, sister, don't make me wait too long, or else Lu Kongwen will end up being your brother-in-law. 3 days later, I got the money as I wished and boarded a plane to London. Before takeoff, Lu Kongwen called me from an unknown number. Ro, why haven't you unblocked me yet? Where are you? I want to see you. I've never wanted to see someone so badly, I can't wait another moment. The flight attendant announced the boarding details over the intercom. Lu Tsongwen's tone instantly became tense. Ruru, are you on the plane? Where are you going? London. What are you doing in London? His tone rose unconsciously, losing its usual calm. I'm going to study, Lu Kongwen. I'm telling you one last time, I don't like you anymore. I didn't apply to Beijing University, and I'm not going to Beijing with you. Don't contact me anymore. What do you mean? What about that night in your room? I scoffed. That night, nothing happened, right, that day. To make the act complete, I had let Lu Kongwen into my room, but once inside, I pulled away from his embrace. He calmed himself down for a long time, waiting for his body to settle. Then, I pleaded with him to explain the details of filling out college applications. We stayed in the room for a long time, but actually, nothing happened. In this lifetime, Lu Kongwen never even touched my lips, but with the illusion of that night, I blackmailed Ji Yunhui and gained my freedom. There was a long silence on the other end. Just when I thought Lu Kongwen would hang up, he finally spoke. Ruru, I really do like you. It used to be you chasing me, and I didn't cherish it. From now on, I'll be the one chasing you. And I will show you a sincerity greater than you ever showed me. I remained silent and hung up the phone. Lu Kongwen visited London before the term started at Beijing University, but I kept avoiding him. He spent several days downstairs at my apartment building, finally returning to the country, disappointed. His emails kept coming, filled with his longing for me and his deep love. He even sent me a black card, hoping to ease my financial burden and make my life easier. If this had happened before my rebirth, I would have been profoundly grateful for his concern, but now, his belated affection felt worthless as weeds. I deleted his emails, and sent the black card back. Later, he somehow got my new mobile number and called to say he would visit me in London during the winter break and asked me to wait for him, but in the end, he didn't come. It was only later that I learned from Jojo that before the winter break at Beijing University, Ji Yunhui had drugged Lu Kongwen and they had slept together. Afterwards, the Ji family forced Lu Kongwen to get engaged to Ji Yunhui. Ashamed, Lu Kongwen didn't come to see me. He began drinking heavily and stopped attending classes. Who would have thought Ji Yunhui, seemingly so pure and chaste, would resort to such despicable tactics? Jojo said indignantly. History has a surprising way of repeating itself. Fortunately, this time, I avoided their tangled web of love and hatred and no longer had to drink that bitterly cold seawater. When I heard this news, I had just completed a successful performance as the principal dancer in my troupe. The audience showered me with enthusiastic applause and flowers. In the bustling backstage, I thought I saw a familiar tall figure. He left a bouquet of dazzling roses on the rack by the door and gave me a deep, lingering look. His departing figure was lonely and desolate.